Yes, so we are live. Family, thank you for watching. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, Rumble, Kick. Wait, are we on Facebook as well? I think I might have to take that off. Let me see. Oh, Josh. Hey, Josh's Facebook. Hey, Facebook family. Wow, I didn't even notice that. Well, thank you for joining us, family. Before we get into it, let me just get this out of the way. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Arkon Mounts. For those of you that are looking for creative, robust, reliable mounting solutions for maybe you're content creating, maybe on YouTube, TikTok, maybe you're on X, Twitter, YouTube, and maybe you just like to do professional quality video production and you need some really good mounting equipment, go to arkon.com. They have everything you would need, whether if it's a DSLR camera, cell phones, iPads. Those are the equipment choices that I have. That's what I use. I've been using it since 2015, and I'm blessed to have them as a partner. So if you go to checkout at arkon.com, put in Hawaii, and you get 20% off your entire order. So there you go. We're going to keep it short today in terms of intros. I just want to talk for a second about our guests. Today's guest, he's 43 years old, lives in North Texas with him and his wife, Christina. They've been married for 20 years. They have an 18-year-old son. He is also an ordained Southern Baptist minister, and he's been serving in ministry for over 20 years. He is a life coach, an X Spaces host. He's also the co-founder of Creators Labs community here on X. He is courageously fighting a terminal disease, which is called the Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. And today we're just going to hang out and we're talking about being grateful, best practices on life. And I'm just honored and blessed to have him with us. And share this out, repost it, and let me know what you guys think. For those of you that are going to be listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, let me know what you guys think. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and my pleasure to have my dear friend. You'll see him in about 41 seconds, Joshua Busby.
Hey, what do you say? This whole town could be red by the end of the day. If you feel alright, we can throw it and drive. With the radio so loud they can hear us from miles. Me and you, nothing to do.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's up? Aloha, my friend.
Good to see you, bro.
It's good to see you, man. I wore my Hawaiian shirt just for you, bro.
Oh, you did? Yeah. So, hey, so are we gonna let the hair down at some point today?
Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know. We're kind of live streaming between for a lot of people, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll see about that.
Bro, I was going through my list and I see these icons. I'm like, did I log into Facebook with it? No, I didn't. And then it shows your name. Okay.
Yeah, that's
But,
just
hey,
me trying to get my Facebook family up in here.
Joshua Busby, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you. And I will say this before we get into the flow of things is that, man, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I'm just grateful that you spent, and I'm not just talking about you, like all of us, right? None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm very honored and I'm grateful that you're here with us today. So
well,
how's the family, Josh? How's the family?
Well, we're good. My son's not working today yet, so he's just chilling out over here. My wife just relaxing and getting these set up for the live stream, and now she can just relax and sit back and watch. So it's a great day here in North Texas. Sun's shining, so it's a beautiful day.
What's the temperature today?
I have not checked. Probably in the upper 90s. 94 today, but it's usually in the triple digits by now, so we're good. 94 is all right. Probably gonna go for a walk later this evening, but other than that, it's a great day.
Well, we had triple digits like a couple of weeks ago, and then now it's weird. It's kind of cool. It's like in the 40s for us at nighttime. So,
wow, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be for you guys out there. So what part
Yeah,
of
it would
Texas
be.
are you in?
We're outside of Dallas, so we're in a little suburb called Garland, and it's about 270,000 people. Yet it maintains that great small Texas town vibe. But yeah, we do it right out here. And it's a very big music scene area lately, and the arts are really big here. Drama, and there's music every weekend usually, and there's dramas going on, and so it's a very good artsy kind of vibe now. I
I
see
did see.
Carl.
Yeah, I think that's your son, Daniel.
Yeah, that's my son. Yeah. Thanks,
So
Daniel.
I did see that one video. There was a guy playing piano, another guy playing, I think, violin.
Mhm.
I think was
Yeah,
that in Garland?
no, that was over in Dallas. But the way the transit system is here, I could just walk to the train station from my house, and we took off to Dallas, and that was an outdoor concert out in Dallas. It was really interesting, and I like a variety of music. I mean, from pop to classic rock to Christian to gospel, and even Willie Nelson and Highwaymen, and just I'm all over the place when it comes to music. So I love classical, I love Broadway music, I love all types of music. It's just my vibe. I tell people that my life would be a musical. It would be a great one.
You've got a great voice too. For anybody that doesn't know, you have a great voice.
Thanks the Lord. I could still sing, but with muscular dystrophy, it is a muscle degeneration disease, so it has affected my diaphragm, and it makes it harder to support singing high notes and stuff. But hey, the Bible says make a joyful noise unto the Lord, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Now, in terms of are you a tenor, baritone?
Because of the support issues, I can't really sing high tenor, but I was a tenor in high school.
I think I was a baritone that wanted to be a tenor.
Yeah. All the baritones want to be tenors. I'm telling you that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Instead of accepting what God made you, God didn't make you a tenor. He made you a baritone. So.
Well, I think that's why I kind of ruined a little bit of my timbre by trying to always sing higher. So
yes, you can tear your voice out trying to do that.
I get raspy very quickly if I, know. So I try not to do that too much. Yeah. So hey, let's get right into the foundational part. And I thank you for sharing these things. So to my family that's on Instagram, thank you for watching. And anybody on all the socials, if you've never met Josh, I'll have him explain it. But he did send me a summary, and I kind of had an idea of Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. But for someone that doesn't know, in a nutshell, can you explain what that is, and then we can go into the challenges later as well?
It's basically a genetic disease that it's a mutation on the DMD gene, and dystrophin is very important for the stability of your muscles. So if I was to go work out and tear down my muscles because of the muscular dystrophy, I would not be able to build those muscles back up again. So it's a progressive terminal disease. There's no cure. There's only treatments for it. And the mothers are the ones who carry the gene, and they pass that gene down to their male children. So that's why my son is not affected by that, because he is not carrying the chromosome for that. So it only affects men, and also the women also become carriers and have a 50% chance of possibly passing it on to their male children. But thankfully, my sister was not a carrier of the disease. And unfortunately, my brother and I both were receivers of the gene that was incorrect. So we're not producing enough dystrophin, or either not at all. So that's kind of how it is. Either either you're not producing any dystrophin or you're producing just enough to barely do anything. So it's an inefficient production of that dystrophin gene, that dystrophin protein.
You know, I was going to ask you because I read over some of the notes. Like, how did they come about with all of these statistics and these numbers? Like, how do they research, and how long? Like, how do they know all this information?
I don't know. I know they've been researching it for a very long time, and a lot of money and research has gone into researching muscular dystrophy and trying to get gene therapy treatments and other treatments that work, like steroids and different things. There are a lot of clinical trials that some of the guys are in and are finding great success in that. And one good thing, not to get into politics, but Donald Trump was very behind the whole idea of the right to try, meaning that if there's a treatment out there that could possibly help you, that a patient has the right to try those things out. So that's one good thing I'll say he did, and I do appreciate all those that pushed him to do that and give these families the decision to make themselves. If they want to try out a treatment that may have side effects, that's up to them as a family.
So that's in relation to, like, as far as insurance coverage as well, when it comes to the right to try.
Yeah, I know some guys that are dealing with insurance issues. It's hard to get some of these things approved, but a lot of guys are getting it done, which is good.
Have you and I don't know much about it, so I'm not an expert, but I do hear a lot of people that do stem cell as well, stem cell therapy. Do you know much about it?
No, not really. And I don't want to sound like a scientist when I'm not, because I think your audience is pretty smart to know that I'm not a scientist. So there we go.
Same here. I'm not one either.
I'm just an average dude and trying to understand these things and teach other people about it. But I don't know how it works, but I do know that it has been helpful to some people.
You know what? I know this is a side departure, but I want you to meet somebody, and he just commented on YouTube, Error 808. Josh, that's the guy I always talk about. If you guys ever hear me talk about who got me started on this platform in terms of live streaming, that's the guy. I always nice. And Air so this, Error Bro, and he's got a nonprofit organization called Ukulele Project Hawaii, and he's the guy. He's the reason why we're doing this, by the way. Legit.
Well, thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
Yeah, gotta give props words, and of course, Waylon and Tala have been very active in conversation. But you know what's funny? These connections that we're making, and I only met you here on this platform, and right. I had the first thing I'll tell you is this, and this I'm just pulling the trigger off of the thoughts in my head is I'm thinking,
let's go.
Who is this guy? Like he sounds like, and I didn't see you yet. I just saw your profile picture and I hear you talking. I'm like he sounds like he's smoking something, because I didn't know, right? Like, is he smoking? Is he smoking while he's talking to everybody?
No, I'm not hitting the bong, man.
Yeah. So I'm like, and
no hookahs over here, bro.
So for someone like me who's very naive, can you tell us what is that thing, that machine that's into your mouth? What does that do or help you with?
But you guys remember Christopher Reeves? He had the tracheotomy in his that actually into his trachea. Let me sound a little more professional here. Into his trachea that was attached to a ventilator device that breathed for him. And some guys with my disease either prefer the tracheotomy approach, or either they had some type of pulmonary emergency that necessitated the tracheotomy right in their neck, like Christopher Reeves, Superman, had. But this is non-invasive mechanical ventilation, meaning a non-surgical option. They're not putting a tube into my trachea. It's the same thing. It's connected to a ventilator. but instead it's on this little arm thing, and it just gives me air. No oxygen, just pressurized air so that it will inflate my lungs because the diaphragm is weak because of the dystrophy lack of production there. And so it just helps me get a good breath. And it's proven to help you stay out of the hospital because with tracheotomies, a lot of times you get some infections in there and you get mucus plugs and all sorts of things that can come about because of that. And not to mention it can really mess up with the way you speak and things like that. So some guys either have the tube coming up over the back of their wheelchair. Some have it on the headrest back there where you see the white thing up there. Me, I'm more comfortable having it in my mouth the whole time because you know, I'm a minister, so I like to talk a lot. And I don't like to take breaks, to try to find my hose real quick, you get real wound up in the pulpit. Hey, hang on a minute, let me take a breath. And by then, you done lost all the momentum, right? G-Lo, come on, you got to go with the spirit. So I put the tube in my mouth and I go with the spirit, brother.
And you know what? It just looks cool, like because it's kind of it does look cool. My wife was listening to you yesterday, and she was like, "It sounds like he's smoking something." I said, "No, he has his breathing in there." So
some people that come in spaces, they do kind of joke about that. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not. And like when I was really big into politics, I would do these political statements and stuff. And they go find a picture of me with this in my mouth, and they say, "This is the guy that we're listening to." And kind of implying that I'm on, I'm smoking something, so don't listen to him. So, yeah, most people in the category I'm in now on X, they're a loving family, supportive. I hardly ever get that type of treatment anymore on X. It's mostly love and support, and yeah, that's what I love so much about where I hang out at. And that's how I met you. That's how I met Tala. I see you, Tala, in the comments. And Tala is a very good mutual friend of ours, I know. And she would always talk about this guy, G-Lo. So, yeah, I finally met you. I was like, yeah, he's just as crazy as she said.
I think she's one of the people that when I met her in person, and I might have this misconstrued because it's been a while, but when I first met her in LA, I think she's one of the people that said, "Oh, you're a lot shorter than I thought you were." I think she's one of those people. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, see, some things are best kept unsaid. Tala, come on, girl, come on.
But I will say, she did say, "Wow, your muscles are a lot bigger in person." I said, "Yes, they are." Just kidding.
So she thought you had little muscles, and she thought you was a tall guy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. She's gonna chime in comments, but she is one. Okay.
Yeah, she's called in. That's why I said that. Yeah, I see. She's always got to have the last word. See that? What's up, Waylon, the indoor farmer? Good to see you again, man. I hope that you're still farming indoors.
Hey, you were talking about the tracheotomy, right? So my brother, I'm not sure if you know his story, but I'll give the short version of it. He has a trach and a peg. Also the colonoscopy. I think I have a hard time saying that word. Yeah. So he had a brain injury, and now he's fully coherent. He just doesn't have the muscle function to verbalize. He can move his hands on one side really well. Nice. He does a shaka. He points up and down, thumbs up, thumbs up. So when we have conversations, he's always involved. Yes, thank you, honey. My wife is a comment. It's called a colostomy. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah.
But those mucus plugs are legit. Like when you get them, oh my gosh! Yeah, and the other thing too is the infection. Infections are a very real concern. Yeah. So,
and that's why those that created this treatment did statistics proving that those with my disease who use these treatment options opposed to the tracheotomy live longer. So there's great research into that. At night, I switched to a face mask attached to the same ventilator. But I had two ventilators. One's in the bedroom for nighttime and one's for daytime. But these ventilators are known to overheat. So I carry both of those when I go out of the house. That way, in the Texas heat, if one of them overheats, I can just switch to the second one. Because there was one time a couple of years ago where one of my ventilators overheat, and I did not have a backup, so I could not breathe, and I had to get home like immediately. Thankfully, I was at a local park, and we just took off running, and we walked home, and I got air, so it was scary. And I
So if
called the company and said, I can't do this again. It's okay, we'll give you a second one.
that
So yeah,
machine fails when you're on the road, like you have backups, I'm guessing.
yes, I had at least 12 hours worth of battery as well as another ventilator I could switch to. And not all guys with my disease had that though, which is discouraging because Medicaid in America will not pay for two ventilators like that. So thankfully, the company that I'm with, they had a son named Joshua who died because of a vent failure, and they did not want me going and potentially not breathing because their son died that way. And they went ahead and out of their pocket approved the second ventilator from their company for me. So it's amazing. God is all in my story, bro. I lived in
Yeah.
Alabama, South Alabama, and they wanted to put a tracheotomy in me. And then lo and behold, I meet my wife, we get married and move to Dallas. And guess who the specialist is that I see? He was a guy that specialized in this treatment that I'm using now. And it's just amazing how God worked it all out. So that I wouldn't need a tracheotomy, I could use this. And it's been a game changer. And that's why I'm 43.
Yeah,
43 by the grace of God and new treatments.
because I watched another podcast where they wrote you off at what, around high school age after you graduate. That's kind of
Well,
your life.
back in the day, yeah, they'd say late teens to early 20s back in the day. And I'm 43, so that's a big difference there.
So outside of like muscle function, what do you have? Just a face? Do you have any arm function right now?
I got my left hand on my mouse, and I can move it around and click things.
Okay.
When I type, Tala knows this. I use my speech recognition software, and sometimes it will cuss you out.
Yeah.
I was talking to Tala one night, and I was like cussing her out. I was like, I'm sorry, Tala, I'm sorry. Speech recognition is a game changer. It helps me type. If speech recognition screws up, I call my speech recognition, my second speech recognition, which is my wife, and she comes in and types the sentence for me, usually if she's available. So yeah, I can use my hand to do a little movement. I can't feed myself. I can't type without an on-screen keyboard and my mouse. I feel everything. It's not a neurological loss of sensation, so I feel everything in my body. But I have lost a lot of muscle tone, which is causing some pain. Imagine losing muscle tone around your hips and your joints. Your joints start to ache a bit because they're not being supported by the muscles and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's progressive. And I think if I was going to put it in a classification, I would say they would call this the late stages of the disease because we'd be looking for pulmonary failure as well as heart failure would be the next things that we need to look for. And haven't had my heart checked. I'm just gonna have that done in the next couple of days. The last time my heart was pretty strong, but that was about probably 7 years ago. So keep praying that that's strong.
Well, you're in our prayers for sure. And for those that don't know, family, literally every breath could be his last breath. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing. That's the same for all of us, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I guess the question is, what are we going to do about it, right? Okay, I got another breath, so let's go do something.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah. God gave me another couple seconds. Let me go.
Let's go. Here's a question, and we'll go back and forth if we have to. But man, you're a life coach. You're a pastor. Whether you're actively doing it or not, you're still a pastor. The title is still with you. It doesn't come with in a chronological sense. Obviously, your husband, father, and congratulations, by the way, on your son graduating high school.
Yes, sir. He's getting ready to go off to college.
Are you gonna do a send off for him? Or, who's gonna have a harder time, you or his mom? Who's gonna have a harder time releasing him to college?
It oscillates between me and my wife. So sometimes I'm okay with it. And then I tease him now, G-Lo, and I tell him that I'm gonna come to the city he's going to. He's going to Baylor University. That's in Waco, Texas. So I tease him and tell him that I'm looking for places to move into Waco. And I'm telling him that I'm just going to come to his dorm and knock on the door and just bust up in there and say, hey, what you got in the fridge? Oh, yeah, Dr. Pepper, I'm going to take this. Because, that's how he's been his whole life. Just come on in, take what you want. But I'm not really going to do that. I just like teasing him about it.
We got some good friends in Waco. If your son needs a church to fellowship in, Robert Henderson, we did a conference with him in Honolulu. Amazing man of God. Yeah, his church and his son actually is a pastor of the church now in Waco. I never been there, but amazing man, amazing family. One of the things he teaches is the courts of heaven. So approaching the courts of heaven. I'll send you the info when we're done. But never been.
Yeah, he plans to look for a church because that's why he wants to go to Baylor, because Baylor is a Christian college, and he wants he's looking for a college with a good Christian atmosphere. I know not everybody there is going to be like, toting Bibles around everywhere, but it's different than a public college. So that, and I know that Baylor is known for academic rigor. So I really wanted a school where he would not only be in a good atmosphere, but also be challenged academically. And G-Lo, he wants to be a doctor. I don't know where he got that from, but
what kind of doctor?
He wants to be an emergency room doctor. He wants to be the guy that you see on your worst day and they patch you up and get you going back on. So that's what he wants to be. No, you don't want to be a surgeon. He's not good with blood, but we try to tell him that if something bad happens in the city where you're practicing, you're gonna have to do double duty and do trauma,
Well, he's going to be a great doctor. I can tell you that. I think, first of all, he's got the biggest champion and role model in his family and you. So I think he's going to do very well. Although I think surgeons, that's where the big dollars are at. If you're in the surgeon department, that's the big dollars.
Yeah, that's where you make the big bucks. So maybe he won't have quite as nice a Lamborghini, but he'll have one.
Yeah. Well, and he'll be in the same state as you, so that's good. It won't be too far.
Yeah, it's about an hour and 45 minutes by car. If you really push it, you can get there. So it's not too far, and it's a small city there, but it's a big, massive campus there, and the stadium's really huge. You can see it from the highway. It's that's a huge stadium. And the Baylor Bears.
When my daughter went to college, 2019, we're in Hawaii, and she said God told her this college way out in Boston. And we're like, that is the farthest point on the other side of the United States. And well, she graduated, thank God, got married. But I still remember this moment, Josh, when my wife and I took her to school, and we spent a few weeks. I think we spent a week in Colorado first, and then we went to take her to Boston. We did all the shopping, whatever she needed for her room. And I remember when we left, I still remember it very vividly. And if my wife is watching, I'm going to make my wife cry because I'm going to make her go back in time.
No.
But we sat in the car after the final moment of like, okay, you okay? Okay, bye. We gave her the hugs and we got in the car and we just cried. Like we literally just cried. I don't think it's so much of the sadness part. I think it was more of the, okay, God, I trust you now. She's in your hands. She's in your hands. And just going back and all the years that you've invested into your kids, right? And it's like, okay, God, she's yours now. She's still my baby, but I trust you.
Right.
And so,
yes.
But I'm excited for you, man. Your son. I watched some of the YouTube videos. What is your guys' YouTube channel name again? I forgot. Is it Life with the Busbys?
It's buzzing around with the Busbys.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of played it on the Buzzing Bee, and we used to record a lot of our life on there, especially when Daniel was young. Different road trips we'd go on and just going around town and places that we visited, and just we used to have a lot of fun time with it. And we recently went to Oklahoma during spring break, and we documented the whole trip. That was my son's. He paid for all of it. He saved up the money. And that's the one thing he wanted to do for his senior trip. He wanted to take all three of us to a cabin. And we went to Oklahoma to Beaver Bend, up there by Beaver Bend State Park. Maybe Paula knows where that's at. But it was a really nice trip. And took my mother-in-law with us though. But don't get me wrong. People tell jokes about mother-in-laws, and she and I joke like that. Every Christmas, I give my mother-in-law something to do with a witch, whether it's a broom or a coffee cup or something to do with a witch, because the stereotype is that mother-in-laws and son-in-laws don't get along. But we get along well. I mean, we didn't kill each other on that trip, so I'd say that was a success. But yeah, she is the sweetest lady, and has never given me a problem being disabled, and her daughter marrying a guy in a wheelchair. It never bothered her or her dad. So she's the best mother-in-law I could ask for. So no fighting here.
I think it's different for wives and mother-in-law. That's what I think. I might be wrong, but I think it's different.
Might be right. There's something there, yeah. And there's something there definitely.
Because my wife and my mom passed away in 2014, but my wife and my mother-in-law, I don't think it was so as much as that they had issues with each other per se. It's me. That sometimes the son and the husband, when you separate from your family, and it's weird. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like my mom, her food. I think that nurturing aspect, and now that you're married and separating, and I'm sure not every guy goes through the same thing, but I do believe that. I think the animosity can be greater just because they're the same gender. So as a guy, I'm not going to disrespect my mother-in-law, because I'll be an evil person, if I disrespect,
Exactly.
So, but I think if it's the same gender, I think there's a little bit more permission to engage differently. That's just my take on it. I might be wrong, but
because the mothers have nurtured their boys their whole life, and they're not saying that I can do a better job than this new person that come into my son's life. But I don't know. Maybe there's just this. I don't want this new girl taking my place because I grew up with him. I raised him. That kind of thing. And I don't even think that the women are doing that on purpose. I just think instinctively they want to continue the nurture, but they have to let go, because if they don't let go, then their little boy is just going to continue to be stuck to mommy when he's trying to grow up and get married and have a family and be his own guy, you know. So I think it's just tougher for that in general, you know.
You know, one of the reasons why I love doing these live conversations is that I can say stuff and it's a historical document. Here's my historical document. My wife used to tell me, she said that when she cooked a certain dish, she said, this is what, and I don't know if my wife is watching, but she said that I told her, oh, this is not as good as my mom's. And I've never said that ever. So my wife, she can dispute, I don't care, but I've never said that. But you know what's funny, Josh, is that as husbands, when we get married, like nobody, there's no manual. Like we got to figure this stuff out on our own. Like now you've been married, what, 20 years now? How many years? 23?
20 years. I think I was 21 in January. Yeah, it'd be 21 years in January. Yeah, I was about 22-ish when I got married.
So you got married in 04, no, wait, 04? 2004?
Yeah.
Dude, my wife and I got married in 2004.
Really? Yeah, we're January 3rd. That's when we got married.
Ours is July.
Your wife is right here. Your wife is in the chat.
Look, I always get the dates when I'm under pressure. I always get them wrong, but this is what I know. I've been with my wife for 25 years. The day that I met, the day we started going steady was July 1st, 1999.
July 10th.
July 10th. Oh, there she is.
July 10th in the chat.
But yeah.
You tell him.
Let me ask you a question, Josh. How did you guys last so long?
Well,
that's a long time.
Well, I don't think I should get a divorce, and murder's illegal. So
yeah, I think so.
So we're just forced to do. Not just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. Well, the key is communication and commitment. And before you get married, you need to definitely be sure, am I going to commit to this person on their good days, on their bad days, when they get up and they don't brush their teeth? Yeah. You know, if they gain a lot of weight, or if they lose a lot of weight, if they cut their hair, if they dye their hair, am I still going to love this man or this woman? Or, you know, and you need to be committed to that. And also not afraid to get help if you need it. We've been through marriage counseling before, and we've been through small groups for married people who were struggling, and we weren't afraid to get help when we needed it. But most of all, we were dedicated to each other, and it helped a lot to have the same faith in common. And a lot of pastors and friends and people who cared about our marriage and our success, who were able to mentor us and give us wisdom when we were having difficulties. Because you don't get to 20 to 25 years, right, Gilo, without a little bit of friction and a little bit of maybe needing guidance to get on the same page again. And, you know, if you are a pastor or you're influential in the lives of new married people, I just want to encourage you to just surround them with love. Give them be a good listening ear, and give them good advice. If they ask you a question, don't blow it off. And really give them a great answer that will help them, not some joke. Like, oh, you'll be all right. Just don't kill her, and you can't get a divorce, and you'll be all right. You know, kind of the joke I made at the beginning was just a joke. But in all seriousness, I think don't be afraid to get in there and give them real, dirty, gritty, down-to-earth advice that they need, you know? And that really helped. And we still disagree today. And what's challenging, Gilo, is she's my caregiver too.
Hmm.
So if I don't like the way she's doing something to my body that day, maybe she hurts me not on purpose, but just because of the disease. And am I mad at her, or am I mad at the disease, or am I mad at my wife? It's kind of like um, compartmentalizing everything. That this is her as my caregiver, and this is her as my wife, and that's been difficult. But we worked through it, and we were committed to each other. And the small problems we have is not worth the emotional pain of ripping ourselves from each other. It's not worth all that, so we work it out.
When my wife, there were times in my life where I had some health issues. Nothing near, obviously, with you, but just it put me in a position where she had to be a very tiny caregiver for me, because
Yeah.
and I struggled with that, Josh. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, I didn't like
Yeah.
it. I had a hard time with that, and even to this day, it. So I had this sore that she wanted to clean it up. I said, no.
Yeah.
You're not touching nothing. I'm like, no.
Get away from me, woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't trust her. I don't think it has anything to do with. Well, maybe I have trust issues in that area.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't want to give her control of that, and that's just my personal. I give you credit, Josh, all these years, and now in the area of like, because your care is 24-hour care, right?
Yeah. No, right. No.
That's your wife, and I bragged about you in the beginning. Dude, your wife is legendary. She's of champion lineage, and I'm telling you, that's legit. Like, do you guys have anybody that comes in and offers like any rest? None. Okay.
No.
Wow.
Well, there's my son, but and I'm not going to tell you the story of the first time my son had to help me use the bathroom. That was a bit awkward. But my wife wasn't here, so I had no other choice. But at the time, I think he was like 16, and 16-year-old son helping me go to the urinal, which is, I'm not afraid to say all that kind of stuff, what it was. And let me just say, it didn't work out very well. Yeah. So, but other than my son, it's just me and my wife and my son here, and we try not to overburden my son with any of this. So sometimes he does stay with me so she can go do things and get out to herself. And she does a lot, and she goes through a lot, and that's kind of what another reason why I don't get so upset at her when things don't go well, because she's got a lot on her plate that she's dealing with every single day. And her dad died a few years ago during the pandemic. He had testicular cancer, and she was a daddy's girl. That's definitely, and that really affected her greatly. And because of the pandemic and my health, she couldn't go to the memorial service for her dad. And I feel guilty about that, because the information I was given was that COVID is really widespread, and if you go outside and breathe, you're going to die, kind of thing. And it was serious. Some of my friends did die from COVID, but she wasn't able to do that because she wanted to keep me safe, and that hurts my heart, G-Lo, to think about it. And my dad died when I was 12, so I didn't have a dad. And you know who my dad was? Her dad. And I respected him greatly. And I knew it hurt me not to be there. So I can imagine how it felt to her, not being there for her dad, and to see. She did get to go visit him before he died. And It's just a lot happened during the pandemic that was just bizarre, and wish we could do it all over again.
Was he a believer?
Yes. At the
Hallelujah.
beginning, when I first knew him, he was away from the Lord and would not go to church because it was the only day off. He worked every other day of the week, and he didn't go to church because it was his day off. But he had a reverence for God and a fear for God, but he wasn't really close to God. And God used his cancer to bring him closer to him. And the pastor, Pastor Osborne's his name, talked to him one day and said, "So, Brother Ronnie, are you saved?" And he gave he used to be my pastor as well. He gave my former pastor an answer that really blew his mind. And he pointed to the Bible and said, "I'm as saved as that book says I am." And that is a profound statement, that the only hope we have of salvation is based upon the Bible.
Yep.
And the Bible says, "Whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved."
Yep.
And my father-in-law said, "I believe that. And based on my belief in that book, I'm as saved as that book says I am." So he really changed toward the end of his life. And he actually believed God was going to heal him all the way to the end. And it was amazing, inspiring faith.
Now, is he in a like a graveyard, or is he cremated, or?
Yeah, he's cremated, but they put him in a wall. So he's cremated, but put in a wall for cremated remains.
When I die, and I'm going to put it in writing if I haven't already. I'm looking around, see if my wife is. When I die, Josh, I'm gonna have them cremate me, but I'm not going to be in one spot. I'm going to be put in all over the world, different parts of my ashes. So if anybody knows scripture, you know how epic that's going to look when that second coming. Yeah.
No. You had time to think this out, you rascal.
Oh, it's going to be epic. In all seriousness, I will say that, hearing that story about your dad, I think the silver lining is that your father-in-law, your dad, that he's your dad. He's in an amazing place. All right, much better. And my wife, her dad passed away when she was 19, and so when I met her,
wow.
And here's a funny thing. Here's a funny statement, and see if you can figure this out, or anybody watching. I have been with my wife longer than she's been with herself by herself. Okay, it's such a weird statement to say, but I've known her longer.
Yeah, I get it.
So, and I say that because my dad is her dad. She's known my dad longer than she's known her dad because of
right.
And even though my dad is a radically different person, and her dad was rugged, bro. Her dad was he was a punisher, bro. He was in a war. He used to be a bill collector. If anybody knows what that means. He was a hard worker. Yeah, he used to be a welder. As a matter of fact, he ran with some of the people that I posted a picture, and I'll tag you in it later, of this guy named Jeffrey Kealoha, who was he was a hitman in Hawaii, and we met him and became friends with him. But all that to say, I'm blessed to hear that your father-in-law was your dad, and then now your biological dad, he passed away when you were 12, you said?
Yeah, he had a massive heart attack, and yeah.
Wow.
That was rough as a child.
I bet.
My first real life encounter with death. But Gila, you got to understand, at that time, I did not know Jesus at all. And to me, death was foreign. all I knew is the man that I loved and called dad, although my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 1 year old. And, I know my dad loved me, uh, but he wasn't in my life every single day. We go spend the summer with him in Texas when I lived in Alabama. So it's kind of funny that my dad got a divorce and moved to Texas. And I got married and moved to Texas. So things are a little different there. But I knew he loved me, but it was my first glimpse of death. And to me, the guy I called dad and loved was no longer here, and I'm never going to see him again. That's the philosophy that I had, because I was not raised. I mean, I was raised in and out of church most of the time, but I didn't go to church every single Sunday. Sunday school and Wednesday night and all that a lot of Christian families raise their kids to do nowadays. I didn't have any understanding of God, so that was hard. And then later on, when my mom died, she died right before I got married. I mean, like right before. It was 6 months before I got married. And I knew Jesus at that time. So there was a contrast between a death without Christ and a death with Christ. There was comfort, there was peace, there was hope, all the things that the Bible promises to those that know him. And it was drastically different. And I'm so thankful for that contrast. Thankful. It reminds me of how different Jesus can make your life. And I don't talk a lot about it on X, guys. You guys from X, y'all know I don't. Because I like to respect difference of opinions on X. As a life coach, I'm telling you that if you guys meet Jesus and you really understand the gravity of your own sinfulness before God, and you really understand the grace of God in the death of Jesus for you, guys, if you really realize that and you call out to Jesus to save you, if you believe he died for you, rose again, I'm telling you guys, that will change your life. And a lot of you guys on X, y'all say I'm a great person, but I'm great because of Jesus, and G-Lo understands that. And I tried to shove that down people's throat on X because I love my people, but I love my people enough to tell them that, G-Lo, that
Yep.
every good thing in my life is because of Jesus, and I know you know that too.
Well, I think we'll, as not just as believers, but even as a leadership, like we are held accountable for not sharing that. And, I have the same foundational respect, but sometimes I get in a space where I'm like, as in Hawaii, we say, bro, I don't care. I'm going to say whatever I like say,
Yeah.
But the truth is, yeah, we are held accountable, right? Because if there is for any reason a doubt that someone thinks, oh, I don't know, does he actually serve the Lord, or is he just? And I think, to be clear, for anybody that's watching or listening later, there is a very fundamental difference to what we believe than any other quote unquote religion. And it's that Jesus is the Son of God, part of the Trinity.
Right.
He came and died for our sins, born obviously of a virgin birth, came and died for our sins. He was crucified, died and rose again. And it was to give us not just eternal life. I think we've kind of we've narrowed the gospel as like a plane ticket out of here, right?
Right.
And I think what you're living right now verifies this. I think it's John 10:10, right, where it says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy everything in your life, right? But Jesus says, I'm going to give you life, and to have it abundantly. And that's now, right? It's not when you're when you're gone, it's now. And I think we've gotten away from the gospel and narrowed it to a point where if you just accept Jesus in your heart, when you die, you're going to go to heaven. And here's a fun, I joke about this. And Apostle John Benefield, I have his book in the background, very good friend of ours. He was preaching a sermon one time. He says, the gospel of Jesus Christ is not about heaven. He said, because if that's what Jesus came for, it was just to give you heaven, let's go ahead and get you saved. Let's go ahead and baptize you. I'll put you underwater and I'll hold you under until the bubble stop. Once the bubble stop, you get to meet him. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, did he
good illustration.
Yeah.
Because you're right. He came to change your life today. Yeah, I love that comment there.
Thank you, Brother Dan, for putting that out there. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he came to give me life today, and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to suffer. But there's a scripture, I can't remember where it was, but it talks about, though our outwardly man may perish, we're being renewed daily in the inner man. And that's what gives me strength to know that even though my body is deteriorating, God is renewing me every single day. And that's why I had the affirmation every morning. I try to remember to say it. I'm alive and thriving. And when you come up with affirmations, you're supposed to say it with gusto, with energy, because it sets things, it puts things in your mind and gets your mind on the right page for the day. That no matter what you see going on, brain, my body's falling apart around you, but my inward man is saying, I'm strong, I'm alive, and I'm thriving today. So brain, keep me functioning today. That's kind of what I envision, talking to myself in the morning when I get up, to get in the right frame of reference. And in Christ, I am alive and thriving, but the outward man is falling apart every day, bro. And everybody who's Asian knows that. Not Asian, but aging.
Aging.
Sometimes this machine makes me say things that I'm not saying. Not Asian, guys, aging.
I have the same issue, but it's not because I have a apparatus. I have a short tongue, so my tongue is very short. So sometimes, if you hear me on mobile devices when I'm talking, it sounds like I have a lisp and like I talk kind of.
Paula, shut up! Don't laugh at me. She's laughing at me. Paula.
Yeah. Tala's a troll.
Paula,
don't pay attention to her.
Get off this live stream, you troll.
Hey, here's the question: Have you ever and I know you did because I watch your other podcasts, and I know not recently, but have you ever really got so angry at God and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this life. Like why? Like right? Like why this? Why me? Have you ever been in that place?
Maybe one time in my life, and I think I was just out of high school, and I think I was 19. And I had one of those Gideon Bibles that I bought actually at a thrift store, and it was a hardback Gideon Bible, and it was the Bible that I would read a lot. I would go off into. We lived in the country, so my grandparents owned a pretty good bit of land, and around the land that my house was on the other side of the property, my grandparents owned it. And all around that property were wooded areas with trails, and there were really nice places where you could get off and get by yourself into nature. And I'd go out and I'd read the Bible, and this was the Bible I took with me everywhere to do that reading. And when I go, we used to do door-to-door evangelism. I think some people still do that today. But in my neighborhood, we'd knock on the doors and basically invite people to church and share the message of Christ with people that wanted to hear. So this Bible was the Bible I carried everywhere. And I remember one time in my house, I don't know what what I was dealing with. But I remember taking this Bible and throwing it across the room, and just that was the only moment that ever happened, and I can't remember why I did that and what I was so upset about that day. But most of the time, I just accepted the reality of God's will for my life. And I've always was taught from the Bible and from good Bible teachers that God allows us to go through great suffering to bring glory to his name. And I always say that if my suffering can be a light to people and point people to Jesus, then any amount of suffering I go through is worth it, because in the end, there's that song, "It will be worth it all when we see Jesus." And it's true. And then "Thank You for Giving to the Lord." That song that talks about when we're in heaven, all the people that we influenced are going to come up to us and say, "I'm here because of you."
Oh, I
And
know that song.
yes. And yeah, I don't want to, yes. One day when we're up in heaven, people are going to come to us and say, "I'm here because you did this to me. You said this to me. You shared Christ to me. You suffered and you didn't give up." So, short answer, yeah, there's that one time I got upset. But I've always had the mindset that the suffering is for God's glory. Because Paul said, "When I am weak, I am strong because Christ lives in me."
Yeah.
And it's the other praise and worship song, "Your Grace is Enough," that was very popular at least 10 years ago and still is today. But God's grace is sufficient for me, and that's what drives me every day. God gives me grace to get up, and it's up to me what I'm going to do with that grace he's given me,
Yep. There's definitely a ton of grace in your life, in my life. For people that don't know, at least our understanding of grace is not like just a second chance, right? It's not just, I can breathe again. Grace is, in literal translation, it gives us the power and ability to do more, to empower, right? To empower us.
Yes. Yes.
So outside of your limitations, what can you do? What is your daily, I call it DMO, right? Your daily method of operation outside of getting ready, getting your teeth brushed and hair did. What is your daily method of operation for Joshua Busby?
Okay, well, my computer is in the front room. I live in an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. And it's pretty spacious, but not like massive amount of space, but it's a nice home to live in. My wife gets up, but guys, here's the struggle. I sleep with the mask on, the face mask ventilator. And my wife has to get me dressed with that on my face. And that includes giving me a bath. I can't get in the bathtub, so she has to bring a tub of water to my bed and do a bath that way, which I hate that. But, you do what you got to do with living in an apartment and just the equipment you have. And, I had to get up with that. So there's this time period between she picks me up in this thing called a Hoyer lift, for those that don't know what those are. And maybe some mechanics know. You ever seen a device that lifts the motor out of a car? It's kind of like that, but for humans. So she puts me in the Hoyer lift and it lifts me up. And I had to go without breathing from the moment she takes the face mask off and then puts me in the wheelchair. And that process is pretty hard. Once I'm in the chair and I'm all dressed and put together and look like this, hopefully that looks good, but that's the best she can do. But she don't have a whole lot to work with, so this is the best my life can do for me. So I get up and I come to the computer. It's right in the front room, right outside my bedroom. And my computer has positive things all to the left side. I showed people this. I got a big life-size Cookie Monster. I got Bert and Ernie because, I'm Bert, my wife's Ernie, because Bert's all serious and that's me most of the time. And my wife likes to have fun. She likes to goof around and play around. So I got things that are going to make me feel positive in the morning. First thing I do, guys, come on, don't laugh at me. But after I get coffee in me, because I got to have coffee, and I take my allergy medicine, and I do take a medication for anxiety. I have slight anxiety, so I take a low dose medicine for that. So I take that in the morning, and first thing I do is I go to X to see how my posts are performing. Did people like what I said yesterday? And I go look to see, and people call that vanity metrics, but I want to make sure that what I'm saying is resonating with you guys. So I check to see how that's going. I check with my best man, Fabio and Jason, and see how the Creators Lab's going, see if there's anything I need to work on that day. And, get into spaces and do all that. And then my client work, different days of the week, I have clients that I coach. And doing that, so I get really tired with all the stuff that I do. And so at the end of the day, my wife and I usually try to go for a walk or go to the lake or go to Starbucks and get a drink if we have the money that week, and just do something to unplug and to relax a little bit, and then get up and do it all again. And then my son, depends on his schedule. He works at Domino's Pizza, and he's about to move from that job and go to campus and work he's going to be a dining hall attendant at Baylor. He's already got the job. But when he works, he wants to come home and play Catan. You ever play Catan? That is a real fun strategy game. So we'll play with him at night, and maybe we'll watch a movie. And then I go to bed kind of late. So that's kind of how my day looks. It depends on what's going on in the day. Like today, I'm really busy today with the live stream today, and just getting ready for that and getting prepared mentally and emotionally and physically for this. And it's been great today.
Can we talk about
that?
Before we go into the next part? But can we talk about let's talk about creators labs with Fabio, and can we talk about that? How did that come about, and who started that, or who said hey let's do this?
Well, I tease Fabio because Fabio don't like to be called the visionary, but he is the visionary behind the Creators Lab.
He's smart
came
though.
To me about yes.
He's got a business degree, right? In business administration or business management. So he's got the background, right?
Yeah, he did crisis management work, and he's really, really smart. And he had the idea of this place where creators could come and learn together and create together. And his big thing is experimentation. And his new word is pilot. When you're starting a new thing, you do a pilot to see if it's going to work. And he wants to create a community where people could do pilots. And people could ask one another in the lab for help. And a lot of the people in the lab, they've collaborated on projects. There's a really big project coming out pretty soon. And I can't get any details to it, but it's a big project, and that's the kind of stuff that we do in the lab. And with Jason from Grow With X, he brings in his 20 years experience in social media, and he's got some really good business instincts. And I know you do too. You got lots of businesses that you have been a part of. You're a very good businessman as well. And his big thing is growing on X. And he has a 9-point system of how to sell your products and services on X. And he taught us this in the lab. Every Wednesday we have a workshop, and it is game changing for a lot of people on X. So the lab, we have a workshop every Wednesday. We have a DM group that we're all in that only lab members can be in. And we're always talking and collaborating and innovating. So it's going well. And Fabio was the guy that came to me with the idea, and it was a good idea. And then we all brought our pieces to it. Jason brought the business side, and Fabio is really good at community organizing. He's very good at community and leadership and action. That's his main word, action. And he wants us not to just talk about all these things we're going to do, because we talk a big talk, don't we? All of us. Okay, well, you talk a big talk, Fabio says, let's do something about it. So that's kind of what the Creators Lab is, a place where you can come and talk about what you're going to do, learn some skills on the workshop on Wednesdays, and get out there and make a difference and make money and fulfill your vision and your purpose for living. That's kind of what it is. And I'm able to bring in the life coaching side. That way we got the whole package. We got the community. We got community. We got communication from Fabio. He's a visionary. We get lots of vision from Fabio. And then Jason brings in the business component. And I'm able to bring in that spiritual. I basically see myself as kind of like a chaplain of the lab, kind of. I'm the guy that makes sure everybody's healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, and things like that. So we all use our different abilities, and it runs a good community.
Now, how many members you guys have to date?
About 22 right now.
Okay.
I think maybe 21. I felt it was 21, I think.
I think the creator economy, for those that don't know that terminology, it's I think to me, a content creator, that is one of the most, if you ask most young kids today, you ask them what do they want to be in life, a lot of them will say, I want to be a YouTube star, I want to be a social media icon.
And the likelihood of that is not great for everybody.
Yeah. Well, at least for a living, it's all your top producers or influencers, if you will, either they said something so controversial or very risque, and now they have a ton of followers, and now they're getting contracts, right? And so outside of that, the other ones are the people that actually have degrees and they've been working on this craft, and that's what they do. And then everybody else is just hoping that they can find a niche or niche, whatever you want to call it. But I will say, never before, and I think the pandemic really opened doors for a lot of people that were unemployed, because they were, for the first time, you could get a job without having to be in a building.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that even the gig economy, right? Like, for example, people that need, like, let's say, and here's what I want to encourage anybody right now. If you're in a place that financially, man, I need money, like when I was growing up, if I needed money, I had to go get a job at a fast food restaurant, at a place called Hardee's. I don't know if Hardee's is still around. Is Hardee's still around?
There's the Hardee's and Carl's Jr. here in Texas.
Yeah, that was my first job. Yeah,
really, Hardee's.
Yeah,
nice.
Hardee's. You know why I got that job, Josh? Because I wanted a pair of shoes. These Nikes. I wanted this pair of Nikes. They were $129. And back then, that was a lot of money too. Even today, And so, but now,
right now, that's a low range. Pair of shoes nowadays.
But if somebody needs money, all you gotta do is take out your phone, download an app. It can be DoorDash, Uber Eats, it can be Roadie, what's the other one, Postmates, and you can get paid like that day. And
Yeah.
that's such a
That's
surreal,
awesome.
right? If people need money, and we're talking about being online and social media and the creator economy.
Right.
Here's what I will say, and I really wish you guys well with your creators labs, because here's one of the rules I learned from one of our mentors. He says that all you gotta do is find a product or a service that people gotta have. That's the first thing.
There you go.
The
Yeah.
second thing is provide a service or a product, not only that they gotta have, but they will continue to buy or to purchase or to get it from you. And that is the key to, obviously, not just success, but now the hard part is, the third one is, well, who's going to teach you, right? Who's willing to teach you their secrets? And so that's where you guys come in. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
sometimes I joke with Jason, because I'm like, Jason, you're gonna give away the whole sink and the whole kitchen and the whole house. He's like, well, I'm just giving freely of what I have. And that's one thing I really love about businessmen, because sometimes businessmen or women, excuse me, ladies out there, I know you guys are bossing it too. There's this idea that people in business are cutthroat, just after the money and kind of thing like that. But with Jason, I'm seeing a different kind of businessman, like, a real guy that loves people and wants to help people, and give away value that he could actually monetize and give it away. And he did that in the lab with a product that he's now offering that 9 steps to get business loan X as a product. And he gave it to us in the lab for free. You get in the lab for $6.79 a month. So you're paying to get in there, but not nearly what the value of this product that he taught us how to do it. So it's amazing when you get people who want to help people. And this is why I team up with these three, because they have these two, they have my same philosophy. And my philosophy is do good to everybody you come in contact with, expecting nothing in return. And I believe that God will reward you for that diligent, ethical business practice. And he does. Down and
now,
again, I know you know.
Jason is in Australia. Is that where he's at?
No, he's from the UK.
Oh, the UK. Oh, sorry, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's from the UK.
And what about Fabio?
Brazil. He's from Brazil.
And is that where they're located now, in Brazil and the UK?
Yeah, and where I'm at in North Texas. And I actually got to meet Fabio. He came to South by Southwest in August. In Austin. And he drove to Waco, and I met him in Waco. So yeah. And I never met anyone from X in person except for Coach T. I met Coach T as well. And Coach T has been on your program, I saw. And, Fabio is the same dude that you guys see on the microphone. Same exact dude, man, in person. I've never met someone like that. That is so transparent online as they are in person. It was like, wow. So it was just like we're on a space. Fabio, there he is. We're on a space, and we're going out to dinner and having a good time. So yeah. So yeah, he's in Brazil. Jason's over in London, and I'm up here by Dallas. So it's a weird combination. So it works.
So how does that business relationship work in terms of like entities, or I'm not sure how you guys operate it, but like, is it anything registered, or is it just more agreements right now, like verbal agreements?
Yeah,
how does that?
Yeah, basically like that. But I know Jason has an agency. So his work like that is all done that way. And then he's doing stuff by himself. But right now it's just all three of us, we agree, and handshake agreements for now, and we're all on the same page, and we treat each other right because we have the same mindset, the same goal, and we're not, fighting for ego or money or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I wouldn't be involved in something like that. That's why I tell people I'd be out. I'm out.
You ever heard of
Let it work.
Dave Ramsey? You ever heard of Dave Ramsey?
Yep. I
Yeah.
very familiar with all his content. Yep.
He so when we had in Hawaii in the drug and alcohol rehab that where I was a counselor where we opened it in 2019, one of the required curriculums was Dave Ramsey. We had a Dave Ramsey course that they were required to take. And one of the things I learned from him was such a powerful, and I'm going to try to paraphrase, but he says in the area of business, he says to have those discussions. And so, and those discussions that are important, right? Because there are things that are going to happen that you cannot stop it. Like death will always happen. Doesn't matter if you're healthy, unhealthy. The other discussion is in the event someone gets hurt or debilitate, whatever it may be, to have those discussions. And the other one is to go into detail. Well, if this happens, then what's next, right? And when I heard him talk about that, it was so powerful in the area of business because, and that's where I'm learning too when it comes to agreements. As you know, I've sent you those things, and is to have those discussions, right? Because if something were to happen, well, this is how it's going to look. Like, do they have kids, right? So, for example, my wife is the CEO of our company, right? So she has the job title of CEO. I'm just a marketing guy. I self-titled. I'm just a chief market. I had to add chief. I'm the big chief, but I'm just a chief marketing officer. My wife has a business degree. She has all of that stuff. But to have those discussions, and we're actually starting to write out more things now. And she did a vision board with our kids, and they're planning out their future. It's fun, because they can cut out little pictures of cars and houses. Right? My oldest son cut out a Porsche and he put it on there. And so, but anyways, I'm saying all that. When Dave Ramsey said to have those discussions because those things are going to happen, right? And to have a plan in place. And one thing that really moved me about him was that he said that, one of his executives, I think it was, that when he passed away, it was already in writing that whatever retirement, investments, money that he had in the company, that it would go to his family for life. And they agreed to that.
Right.
And I thought that was powerful, right? That they're still taking care of the and another one too is one of my recent guests. I had Pep Tablado, who is a retired Marine, but he runs a foundation. One of the stories he shared was one of their brothers, one of the soldiers, was killed in Iraq recently, and so what his foundation does is they put money aside for his daughters. For college and for the rest of their life. They are literally putting money aside for his family for life. And they're taking care of his wife for as long as they need to. And I'm like, wow, that's some legit stuff. And I had him as a guest. I'll find that clip. I can put it back up. But and this is what I'll say in regards to Creators Labs. Man, you guys are you're carving out a space, right? That's legit in the creator economy. Now, for you on a personal level, you do coaching as well, right? So can you share with people, for those that don't know, because they're like, wait, who does he coach? Well, what kind of coaching does he do? And I know already, but can you share with people like your clientele? What is your clientele and what do you coach them through?
Great. Well, I'm going to have to start with a story, if that's okay. It's follow the through line, guys. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. My wife and I we both went to Arlington Baptist College, just now Arlington Baptist University in North Texas. And we both had bachelor's degrees. And right before I graduated, I got a job as a youth pastor at a church, and I was there for 4 years. And through that, I was honing my skills of mentoring teenagers. But even before, like when I first became a Christian in the year 2000, I had a ministry called Totally Teen Ministries. Totally Teen Ministries. And I would do like counseling and evangelism, and we'd have articles of people that overcame like depression and substance abuse and things like that. So I was always involved in teenagers and helping teenagers. And so I was a youth pastor, and my health started to decline to a point where I thought, this is unsustainable for me to continue as the youth pastor. So I stepped down from there, and I went into live streaming on Facebook, and I did a show called The Morning Motivation 3 times a week for a while. And then I got on X, and the whole thing with X happened. Elon bought it. And when Elon bought X, a lot of people came over like the Great Gold Rush. A lot of new people came over to X, and their mindset was business and creating. And I was here as a motivator when I first started here. I've been here since 2009, but when everybody started coming over with the Great Gold Rush, when Elon took the sink into the office of Twitter and said, "Let that sink in," all you guys came over here, and I was letting it sink in. But I was there motivating y'all every morning. I would do a video every morning, like a minute video, but there was still something missing. And I sat down with Coach T one day, and he called me, and I think he was at Panera Bread for lunch, and it was kind of loud. So I was like, what? So we had a good conversation about coaching. And then I talked to Kimberly. Y'all know Kimberly. Everybody knows Kimberly on X. And I had a conversation with her about coaching. And I found a course from the Transformation Academy. I took the course, and I was marketing myself as a general life coach for anybody. And God had a different idea for me. He pivoted me. I didn't pivot. He did it. Rick Warren talks about riding the wave, in his book, The Purpose Children Church. And God was giving me a wave. And I was up there, riding the wave, bro. And, I didn't know where it was going, but the wave led me right back to my community of guys with muscular dystrophy. So I am now coaching 5 guys with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. And my life experience is definitely very useful in that situation. The fact that I'm 43 and these guys are younger and they need hope. Like, am I going to make it to 43? And they're dealing with loneliness and anxiety, and they need help setting goals, because if you're told your life you're going to die and you think you're going to die, why set goals? So what I teach these guys is to shift the mindset. And you can't control what muscular dystrophy is doing to your body, but you can control what you're going to do to this world. And that's what I try to get them to see, that it's all about your mindset. If you're thinking about dying every day and you don't think you're going to make it to the next month or the next year, you can't make goals. So I teach them, control what you can. And of the things that you can control, what can you do? What can you change in your life? And so I work with them to set goals. But one of the things I do at the top of every call is I call it the 4 pillars. And I ask them to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 from physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And at the beginning of the call, we get to see where they're at for that day. And usually during that process, you discover what they're going through that day. And if it's a mindset issue, then we'll stop on mental for a while, and we'll we'll discuss some of the things that they're going through with their mindset, and then we'll talk about emotions. And whichever one that they're struggling on, that gives me an idea of where to start with the call. But then we'll start working on the goals that they'd set, and they set some short-term goals and long-term goals. But I'm really enjoying impacting these young men's life, because when I was younger, I needed someone like that. And if I had someone like that in my life earlier, I think the direction of my life would have been different. But for me, I got saved at 19, so I had pastors and church people in my life guiding me and mentoring me. And I had two really good mentors, Stephanie and Rob Jones. They were older than me and my wife. And she was actually the matron of honor in our wedding. And her husband was one of my best men. So, and his brother had muscular dystrophy. So one of my greatest mentors, Stephanie, her husband's brother had muscular dystrophy too. So you can see how God was using all these things to point me in the direction that I'm at now. So I'm coaching these guys with Duchenne, and one client I've had for almost 20 sessions. And I really love this guy. I wish I could tell you guys his name and a little bit about him. He's a really cool guy, but confidentiality, I can't do that, but he's a really cool guy. And these guys are some really cool people, Gilo, I'm telling you. And, you know, sometimes my heart breaks for what they're going through. But there's some really, really cool guys. And some of you guys might be listening right now on Facebook. I see you. But that's kind of where I'm at with the coaching with these guys with muscular dystrophy.
Do any of your clients that you're coaching, are any of them parents like you?
Not yet.
Okay.
But one of my best friends, he lives down the road. We went to a baseball game the other day together. I think I showed you guys on X the picture of that.
Mm.
But it was just all the guys, me and my friend with Duchenne. And he has 2 kids, and his older kid went with us. And my kid drove us. So all the guys went to a baseball game. It was a fun thing. And could you imagine navigating 2 wheelchairs through the parking lot? You know, through the crowd, excuse me. Yeah. But we had a good time. But no, they're not parents yet, but they want to be. And that's the hard part, Gilo. Because I have a wife and a son. And these guys so desperately want a wife and a son. And, you know, it's hard to tell them, you know, just hang on and tell them the story how God provided my wife for me. And I can't promise them that they'll get married and have children. I don't know. And I feel bad because I'm married and have children, and telling them, you know, just to be patient and focus on yourself right now and make sure you're the kind of person a woman would want to be with. And, you know, it's good advice, but I understand, you know, their position. And a lot of them live at home with their mom. One of them doesn't. And they want to be independent, J-Lo. And it's difficult, but I love doing it and helping them. I think if I end it, not I end it, but if the Lord took me home right now, I think I'd be satisfied with the work that He's given me to do. So
You
I
will
enjoy it. I don't
definitely.
know what's next.
I will say this, Josh. You will definitely have every right to say that I fought a good fight. You would have every right to say that, right? But here's the crazy thing. There's a lot more chapters to write. There's so many more chapters for you to write.
Sure. Let's go. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your story is so moving. Like I'm literally you ever watch the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Yeah. I have. It's
It's
been
a
a while.
cartoon, right? It's an
Yeah,
old movie.
it's been a
But
while.
there's a security guard in there. The black guy, he got big
Right.
muscles.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
guy the guy who plays him is Mr. T. And
Well,
I'm
yeah.
going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. And so
Oh, yeah. I thought Pastor's always going somewhere.
there's a scene in that movie where Mr. T was about to cry, and because he's a tough guy, he literally flexed the tear back into his eye.
That's bad.
So I literally did a Mr. T. I flexed my
Good job.
tears back in.
Good job. Good job.
Hey, but your story is um here's the crazy thing with these kids, these guys that you're coaching. What you're giving to them is generational, right?
Right. That
It's
is
not
true.
just hey, let's survive until until my time is up. No, what you're teaching them is generational. Because I saw the stats. I think it's one in 5 people that have your disease end up passing away of things other than cardiac arrest and
Yeah.
so those numbers are real. But with what you're doing, man, that's powerful. Like that's straight up legit. That's straight up legendary, bro. Like to walk people through.
Yeah.
My wife and I, when we met, we both were like, she had been through she'd been through a traumatic, abusive relationship. I've been through, for lack of a better word, childish relationships where I was a child.
Yeah.
I was treating women in a way that was not godly, and it was just I was not living my purpose. And
Right.
we both were like, God, I'm done. I'm done living this life this way. I just want you, right? God, I just want you. I don't want a girlfriend. I don't want no attraction.
Amen.
But God is like, no worry, I get somebody for you, and so
Yeah.
it's funny how God works things out that way when your legitimate 100% focus is on him. And when you're at that place, he's like, okay, here you go. Here's the love of your life. This hot Hawaiian Puerto Rican. Bro, my wife laughs, bro. If you didn't watch my live stream, and I'm not sure my wife is on still. See, so my wife was laughing hard last night, bro. So for anybody that knows me, Tyler knows this. If my wife and I start laughing, I've gotten to the habit of turning on my camera and I record it live. I do a live stream, but I turn the camera off. And I share with the world our legitimate laughter. So if you want to hear my wife and I legitimately laughing, I did it last night. It was like 1:00 in the morning. We were watching these Instagram videos. Oh my gosh, we just couldn't stop laughing. It was just crazy.
Policies, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so in the area of the coaching, creators labs, and the ministry aspect of it, do you think that God's going to call you in a different aspect ministry wise on top of what you're already doing? Do you see anything or maybe that's on your heart?
Well, you done opened the door with the whole you and your wife. That's exactly how I met my wife. Real quick, let me take a detour. I gave up on women too, and I was on the mission with God. That was it. And remember, I told you I had totally teen ministries. I would go into like voice chat rooms, and I would go on the mic. It's kind of like Spaces, but it was called Pal Talk, and it's like Spaces, but a little bit different. And I was on there ministering to people, and sharing the gospel with people. And my wife kept messaging me; she wouldn't leave me alone. Not my wife; she wasn't my wife at the time. She wouldn't leave me alone. I was like, hey, how you doing? Are you saved? That was it. Are you saved? Like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I was like, okay. So I was looking for other people to minister to. And anyway, long story short, she wouldn't give up on me. And finally I said, God, I'm going to talk to this crazy person if I can marry her. And lo and behold, be careful what you ask for. But the moral of the story is there's a lot to unpack there. I don't want to go into that right now. The moral of the story is, and this is what I teach the guys that really want to get married, is work on yourself. Start showing up for yourself every day. Work on your anxiety. Work on your loneliness. Work on, pursuing career and getting all your stuff set up for therapy and everything you need. Get yourself put together. Find yourself a purpose. If it's meant to be, you're going to meet that woman and she's going to be prepared for you. So that's kind of what I get to teach the guys. What do I see in the future for me? I ask myself that like a lot, Gilo. I really do. I've always been one to ask, now what? I'm not one of these guys that just settles for mediocrity. I reach a level and say, okay, now what? What do you need from me today, God? What can I do? And what I do envision, and I don't know if this is ever going to happen, is I'd love to see other guys with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy being trained to coach other guys with muscular dystrophy. And it would do a few things. Number one, it would give them a purpose, right? Number two, they would be able to help the younger generation find their purpose as well. And then thirdly, it would provide a way for them to make money outside of the government system. And so for me, I think it's a win-win situation, but I don't know how that's all going to work out because you got to create a training program for them. You got to find guys that are willing to do the same thing that I'm doing and train them to do it. And it's a lot of work there. So that's one thing. One thing I thought about doing, Gilo, and the next thing is I do want to get back to preaching. I quit preaching because of the pandemic. I was still going back to the church where I was a youth pastor every now and then. And then had me come preach as a guest on Sunday nights. I'd really like to go back to my alma mater and preach in chapel. And these are some things that I'm going to start putting in motion. Pandemic's gone. I know COVID's still out there and it could have impacted me, but I think I'm ready to get back out there and go around and preach a little bit like I used to. And so those are two things. One is the coaching arena. And the second one is getting back out there preaching again and inspiring people, and then write a book. I'm working on that as well. And when I say working on that, it's the thought. I'm not like actually.
yeah.
My brain is working on the book, and it has been for a while. So those are three things I'm working on, thinking about.
I was just thinking. Like you said, I'm just thinking, I'm not doing, but just talking,
Yeah,
just
right?
thinking. Wouldn't it be cool if we did something together organically, where we offer a workshop and just like, hey, and of course, obviously, we're going to deliver some scriptural foundation to it. I used to be in a business many, many years ago when I was a lot younger, half my age now. And in this company, we had about 1,000 representatives underneath us in our company, and we used to go to these conferences for business. And so, not all of us would go because not everybody could afford it, but
Right.
we would have a core team that would go to these conferences. And I'm going to share this idea with you. I'm just talking, but in this conference, we'd obviously get business, and there's like 20,000 people at these conferences. But on a Sunday morning, they would have these services just for people that wanted to go to like a church service on a Sunday, because these conferences would go from Friday through Sunday. And
Right.
I thought that was the coolest thing, where you get business, but you also get some legit kingdom-minded foundational things for your life, which was on a Sunday. That's where I first saw Francis Chan. I'm not sure if you ever heard of Francis Chan.
Oh, yeah. I know Francis.
Yeah.
I know his stuff. Yeah.
I seen him in Anaheim. We were at a business conference, and he was actually preaching that Sunday morning to a bunch of multi-millionaire business owners, and it was such a cool thing to have that mix. But I was just, when you were talking, like, dude, we should do some kind of, and maybe practice with some obviously online practice first.
Yeah.
But earlier you were talking about how you've met a handful of people on X. Talo, who's in here,
Yeah.
I've been so blessed because this community we had before Elon bought the company, I want to say I've met at least, I would say at least 200 people I've met like physically in person.
Wow. That's awesome.
And the majority of them I met through meetups, right? So it's not like I went to everybody's
Right.
house and, hey, can we hang out? No, it was, we did a couple of workshops for our company in San Francisco and LA. And then, of course, in Hawaii, we did meetups, and we would do multiple meetups. So the opportunity to have these connections is amazing when we're on social media. It's funny to hear this new crop of people. You talked about when Elon bought the company, he brought the sink, let that sink in, right?
Let that sink in, right?
But I agree that there's a whole new wave of people that are like, they're kind of like, wow, what is this? And I'm like,
yeah, like, welcome to our world.
Well, I always wonder, like, where were you guys when all this was like? I almost feel like, was everybody not on social media, or maybe they were on other platforms? I don't know, but it's funny to see that excitement and that traction when people see something. I'm gonna say something funny, and it's gonna probably ruffle feathers, and I don't intend to offend anybody, but
lay it out there
because I'm old school family. And this is to my Twitter family. And I purposely said Twitter. And if you're on Instagram, I love you. I don't make fun of you at all. But if you're on Twitter, on X, and this is not me, family, okay? And so don't take it wrong. This is from one of my buddies. He said, if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. I'm like, wait, what? And then I thought, wait, you put lipstick on a pig. So here's what I'll say to anybody that's struggling to transition from Twitter to X. X is still Twitter. It's just Twitter that identifies as X because it's a name change.
I see what you did. I see what you did right there.
Now, granted, since Elon bought the company, there have been some monumental changes.
Right.
I call it X, depending who I'm with. I call it Twitter when I need to. If I need to verb it, I'll say Twitter. Because if I'm an employee of Twitter, I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm an ex-employee. Wait, you got fired? No, I'm an ex-employee. Oh, so you used to work for Twitter, but you got... No, I'm an ex-employee. So
when I try to say X with speech recognition, it puts EX. So it's like my X. Like, no, not my X.
No, not my X.
I have a live stream on my EX. Like,
yeah.
No, I'm not doing that live stream on my X.
Hey, have you put an application for Neuralink? Have you gone through the... No,
I thought about it, but the thing with, I know we're on a tangent now. We'll get back to that other part. The thing with the Neuralink is, since I have a muscular disease, I think that making my body do things that the muscles wouldn't support, I think that would be counterintuitive. It probably would cause some problems, because imagine if I could suddenly move my body in ways that I never had before.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of stress would that put on my heart? You know, it just, I don't know what ramifications such a thing would do, you know. It's a good idea, especially for those that are quadriplegic or, you know, paralyzed, and they need to move. It wouldn't hurt them to be stimulated to move, you know.
I put my brother's name in. He wanted to be considered, but it's all clinical. And the ones I saw now, and I watched the podcast with it. Of course, the threads, right? I heard you talk about that. Some of the threads deteriorate or they slip out. That's the first issue. The other thing is, from what I understand, the Neuralink, and they're not the only company. I think there's 5 other companies that are doing that. It's just that Neuralink has Elon's name attached to it.
Right.
But from what I understand, right now it's connected to a CPU for now, right? In the area of translation. So if, like, the guy was playing chess, right? He's like, and so I remember them asking him, like, are you just telling it to do, like, to move the mouse, the cursor, And he's like, no, I imagine it, I think it, and it does it.
Just like we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how that, and I'm interested to see. I don't know if my brother will be approved as a candidate just because of the severity of his care, because I think they would need, I don't know. I really, I can't speak for them, but I would think they would need a little bit more
Right.
feedback from their from the patient.
Is that, and they want to find someone who's not has the other comorbidities, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it don't look so bad on their clinical data if something happened to your brother, Lord forbid. You know, with this already frail health right now, to take someone to put them through a trial could make your child look like it's not successful. And I'm not saying that they would reject him, but I don't know what goes through their mind, you know. But eventually, if it works, they're going to broaden it out, and I think people like your brother would actually benefit from it.
I think that opens the door for obviously conspiracy theories, right? If they can
Oh gosh,
control you, right, and put those things in your body. But I look at it as, I think it starts for me with communication, right? That's one of
right?
the most heartbreaking things for anybody that is dealing with someone that is in that capacity,
They
but
can't
not
talk.
able to verbalize, right? Is how can we best communicate with them?
Yes.
So I think with my brother, one of the struggles, and I still struggle, not like before, but is like, am I doing the right thing by him? Right? Am I translating
Right. What he
his
wants.
heart and his desires the way he would want? And for the most part, he says I am, right. He'll approve, but still, there are these moments where I'm like, I say, God, am I making like
Is that
because
the
we look
right?
at and this is a good segue, because we're looking at quality of life for him.
My son's going to work. Here, you can step in.
Hey, yes, sir. Have a good
That's
day,
fine.
bro.
Yeah, yeah, he's done. Right. Quality of life.
The
with
quality
you.
of life, right? And the physicians, kind of like in your experience, where they gave you a timeline, right, and you exceeded that, you doubled that, obviously,
Yeah.
through God's grace, obviously.
Amen.
My brother's quality of life, the doctors would, if they had their way, they would have said, let's transition him to comfort care, right, or palliative care, I think they call it.
Yeah.
My brother didn't want that. And to this day, I don't know, because we can't have an intricate conversation in that. But what I do know, Josh, is when we go, because so if you don't know our travel schedule, and it's slowed down considerably, but last year I would go out there, 3-hour drive to go be with him every other week. So I was not home, 2 weeks out of the month. So literally 6 months out of the year, I'm not home with my wife and my kids. I'm with my brother.
Right.
And so, but I know that when I would visit him, or when we would bring a ukulele or a guitar, or he plays piano, he does a little bit of piano, that
Nice.
there's so much joy that he experiences. And so the quality of life, that question of, is that the kind of life that you would want to have if you're in his position? I don't know, right? I don't know if that's.
I don't, Dila, maybe this will give you some comfort. I think your brother would rather be here than not be here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I'm not speaking like heaven's not real. We know heaven is real.
Yeah.
But the natural instinct of a person is to live with their family as long as they can. And
That's good.
I think that as long as he is giving you the thumbs up and hugging you and smiling at you and acting happy, I think that that's a good indication that he's enjoying himself. And music, brother, can unlock some things in your mind. Music is very, very powerful.
Yep.
So I think the fact that he's playing and he's happy doing it, I think that would lead me to think that he's happy. But if he looks sad and downcast, I think he would know when he's ready to go. Because I think he would demonstrate it with his mood and his emotions. And right, I mean, I don't know your brother. I don't know how communicative he is and what all. he's able to explain to you. But do you think
That-
you would know if he was unhappy?
oh yeah, because we would see. But here's the funny thing. Right? Here's the funny thing. If he's not in a good mood, he won't respond. Right. Now, here's the funny thing. If there's a beautiful nurse that comes in the room, oh, he perks up. Because there was a time when one of the physicians, he would message me or call me and would say, I tried to talk to your brother, but he seemed like, unresponsive. He just didn't want to. And I told him, I said, doctor, with all due respect, you're probably not attractive to him.
Yeah.
So, and he said, yeah, I get that. And he did say, but these questions are very important. I said, and that's why I'm here, right? That's why I'm here, because the important questions, you can ask me those questions. But the quality of life is always a question, right? Here's what I want to ask you. I want to get your insight on this. Do you believe that your will to live, with God's grace, of course, will supersede whatever a physician may tell you in his doctor's report?
I think that a doctor is a human being, and human beings are flawed individuals. They make mistakes. They get things wrong. They operate on the set of data that's in front of them. And a lot of times, depending on the physician, they may not be thinking about supernatural intervention. So they're just thinking clinically based on what they've seen. And then they superimpose that on each patient when every patient is different. And it's already been proven that patients with faith tend to perform better and do better in their dealing with the disease. So I think there's an element of faith that physicians may not account for unless they are of faith themselves. But I think that if you have a will to live, I'm not a neuroscientist. I know Dr. Heath would probably have a lot to say. He needs to come on the show if he hasn't. That would be a brilliant dude to have on your show. I think that you can send signals to your brain that you want to live and you want to fight. And this is why I teach my guys to do affirmations, because you are conditioning your brain to fight and to not give up and to push through. But Gila, I know eventually my will, my faith, and all that is not going to be enough to stave off the deterioration of my disease. And I know it's just going through a course. But what I do know is people say, well, God didn't heal you. How do you know? Does God have to automatically stop every bad thing in my life to be healing me? And what I say is, God let me live to 43. That means he healed me for this long. He is keeping my disease at bay until it's my time to go. Now, Dr. Heath may disagree because he doesn't believe that we have a set time to go, but I kind of believe that. And we're not going to go until it's our time to go, and then that's it. So, yeah, I think part of it is your will. It is your faith. But ultimately, when it's actually your time, that's it. That's all you got. At least that's kind of my perspective.
I think that I am from the same thought process that when it's your time, it's your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I do agree with the doctors, right? And they're just human beings.
Yep.
And everything they deliver to you as a patient is based on those experiences, whether it's a clinical trial data, whether it's percentages. Here's the funny thing is when a doctor gives you percentages, I find that very interesting because according to my one of my wife's doctors, we're not supposed to have kids, so, and it's so funny. We have a lot more than he said we'd have, which is, so, but the number he gave was 99.9%. And I understand why he left it open at 0.1%,
Right.
because he's not God, first of all, and
Exactly.
miracles do happen. But I do believe in my brother's case, this, if he loses his will to live and he's like, you know what, I'm done. Say, God,
Yeah.
like, can you take me? I'm done fighting. I do believe that there is a time where we give up, that even the body fails.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have, you know who I would love, and I actually sent her email, Dr. Carolyn Leaf. Did you know who she is?
I don't think so.
I'm going to say, oh my God, I would love to have her as and I actually had Dr. Heath. He was my first clinical psychologist.
You did
I
have
had,
it. Good. He's a
yeah,
good
but he's
guy.
all right. He's all right. Dr. Heath is like, nah, I'm just kidding. He was great. He was my,
Hey, Tyler, snip this out and send it to Dr. Heath. You heard that.
but Dr. Heath was I think he was my second clinical psychologist. I've had 4 already. I'm pretty blessed to have had
You're right. Yeah.
some smart people. But yeah, Dr. Carolyn Leaf, she's a legitimate neuroscientist.
Nice.
And one of the things she talks about is, if you look, I'll send it to you. It's called trees. She has this fancy trees. She says trees, but our thoughts create these trees of thought. So whenever you think, there's a little explosion of actual neurons or whatever that it grows.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, it's just, if you are living, breathing, if you're alive, you cannot have a blank thought. There's no such thing as a human being, if they're alive, to not have any thought whatsoever.
It's not, right.
And she says that we're able to grow and expand in our mind, through our thought. And she's a believer, by the way. She's actually a pretty amazing Christian as well. But just to have someone that smart in that space and also be a believer and to have a kingdom perspective to that,
right? That's amazing.
But yeah, she's talking about how the neuroplasticity of our brain, which basically means if you have that word's thrown around a lot, right? I don't think people fully understand from a science. I don't in its entirety, but when she explained it, it made sense. Neuroplasticity allows for your brain to grow.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy thought when you think about it. You're talking about, physical, there's a timeline, right, to your body. There's a timeline to my body where it's coming to a point where we're done. But up until that minute, that final minute of our life, our brain still has the ability to create new memories, new thoughts, new processes. And I thought that was powerful with what she shared.
It's amazing. And that's why, like, affirmations are very important. And the growth mindset is based upon what you just described. A lot of people think that IQ is a fixed thing and that this is all I got when I was born. I cannot increase my IQ. I cannot learn these things, blah, 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 blah. I can't. But the growth mindset, like you just described, tells you otherwise, that if you do something repeatedly enough, you can actually, it talks about it, you can rewire your brain, and I'm not saying it in the right way, but the way that the doctor described it to you is exactly right. And you can rewire these new pathways in your brain that you're creating through, whether they're positive affirmations or new things that you're learning. And you can actually retrain your brain to have a certain mindset. And that's what they talk about, reframing and rewriting your life story. You can actually turn like negative events in your past. You can like train them to be turned into a positive memory in your brain. And that's what I think is amazing. Our brains are so wonderfully created by God that we're just now barely scratching the surface, where 2 guys with ministry training are trying to explain neuroscience to people on a live stream, but and the neuroscientists are probably laughing at us. But hey guys, we appreciate you guys in neuroscience. You guys help us out a lot. So yeah, that's one of the things that informs my coaching, that I can change the way I feel today. And as weird as it sounds, if I can change my thoughts, I can change the progression of my disease. I feel that way. I may be wrong, but hey, I'm going to keep trying it.
You know, there's I met this guy by the name of Marcus Luttrell. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him, but I met him. He's actually from Texas. I met him and his wife Melanie Luttrell. Met them in Hawaii. It wasn't like a hey, let's be friends kind of a deal, but they came.
Right.
One of my employers at the time had brought them on to my job as a guest, and they wanted to hang out and swim. And so, anyways, I met. One of the conversations I had was, I was coached on is to try my best to not thank him for his service, because he was he's retired. He's a retired Navy SEAL.
Gotcha.
But there was a movie that they made about him, which was Lone Survivor, and he was I think out of 33 men and women, soldiers, he was the only one that survived in that. Wow. I think it was in Iraq, but so I was coached to not thank him for his service because he was the last, But one of the things that I remember from his story was that in the movie that Mark Wahlberg played him, when he was, yeah. So in the movie, he was running away from the enemy,
right?
But in real life, that's not what he did. In real life, he was literally, because his legs were not working properly, he was literally crawling. I don't know how many miles, like 5 miles. He was crawling and clawing with his hands, and whenever he could get cover. And I'm like, that's where that will to live, what I was talking about, right?
There you go, brother. That's what I'm saying. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And even what you're doing, we're talking about my brother, that will to live, right? It's just, yeah. I gotta talk. Your wife. I know we're bouncing around, but your wife, man, she's good people, bro. And just thinking about the amount of care that's required. Because here's a question: have you ever felt? And if it's too heavy, you don't have to answer. But have you ever felt that you were not good enough? For your family?
Oh no, for my family? No, absolutely not. No, I think that I guess I've accepted who I am at 43, and this is what I have to give for my family, and this is it, and that should be enough. You are enough. Anybody that might be watching that may feel like that you're not enough. And I never really felt that way. I wish there were some things I could do for my son and my wife that I can't because of my disability. But like I teach my guys, you accept the things you can't change, and I can't change those. So I shouldn't feel bad about something that's beyond my control. So I feel like I'm as good as I can be with my current situation. Now, could I improve in other aspects, emotionally and mentally? Yes, I could. And I know exactly areas that I need to improve, and I need to work on that. I get frustrated easily, and I'm going to be confessions now. These aren't G-Lo sessions now. These are confessions.
Close sessions, bro. I'll send you the bill in the mail, brother.
Yeah, confessions with G-Lo. Here we go. Yeah, I do get angry. I get angry a lot. I'm short tempered. People may think, oh my God, sweet Josh. No, you don't ever get mad. Yeah, I get upset sometimes. And I may say a cross word that I shouldn't say. And I'm working on that. Just Yeah. So apart from those character flaws that I'm working on, I think that I've done as best I can.
I would think from you, because of your condition, and I'm just talking. I don't even know if this is weighty
Yeah,
enough, but I have a feeling that your words carry a lot more weight than the average person. That's how I think. Like
yeah,
when you speak, I think it carries a lot more weight. You know.
yeah, and that's a humongous responsibility for the person that people are putting weight in because I've seen some. I'm not going to name drop anybody because I'm not like that. But I've seen people and Tala, I know you have too, in the disabled community who are quote unquote motivational speakers. And they know that there's weight behind what they say. And they can craft their presentation in such a way that it can manipulate people into doing certain things, especially getting money. And I've seen that, and it leaves a sick, bitter taste in my mouth of men and women that I've seen use that weight authority of their words to manipulate the emotions of people to actually donate money and
Mm.
fuel their quote unquote ministries that are based on their disability. And I didn't want to be that guy. And that's why a lot of what I do is free value. I don't charge for a lot of what I do because I don't want people to give me money just because I made you feel bad about my situation. I ain't about that. But yeah, on the positive side, when it's used correctly, you understand that this is a gift from God He's giving you. And when I stand before God, He's going to say, "What did you do with that platform I gave you? That authority that I gave behind your words, did you use that for my glory?" And sometimes I haven't.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
because
me too.
sometimes I get afraid of sharing the straight up gospel with people because I don't want them to like leave. I want them to continue to be influenced by what I have to say. And I try to do it in a very loving way
Yeah.
to where people know I love you where you're at. And we don't have to agree to be friends and share a space together, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've shared spaces with people that don't believe what you believe either. And we're doing it. We have a legitimate mission. We're trying to help people. And I can join up with someone who's not exactly like me to help people. And I have no shame in that. But if God has given you a platform, then you need to use it for Him. And that's what I'm trying to do. And yeah, that's just, yeah.
You know, one of our friends, I think it's 2019 when my wife and I started pastoring, we were ushered into a position that we didn't ask for. I'll just leave it at that. So we didn't have on our radar to become pastors, but because of there was a church split, and my wife and I, we chose, you know what, we're still gonna have services no matter what, even if there's no leadership in place. And so, but one of the things I remember, I went to Tennessee to visit a friend's church, which was in a part of our network. And I was getting mentored by, so that year we did a, drug and alcohol rehab, and we started a church in the same year. So I went to go get some training and met with some leadership. And one of our friends' churches, he had, every Sunday, he would bring in about 4,500 people on a Sunday. That was just how big his church was. And our church was so tiny. We had like 30 people at the time. And it's just not about the amount of people, really.
Yeah,
but,
get it. We get it. I was a small church youth pastor.
But here's the funny thing is, one of the discussions we had was, you've got to make a decision as a ministry how big your front door is going to be, right? So if you have
Oh, hang
you
on a
know,
minute. Taylor, say that again.
so as a ministry, you're going to have to make a decision on how big you want your front door to be. And so that reference was into churches that are very, how should I put it? They're very heavy on theology and, what is their mission statement. So there are some churches that when you go to them, you notice that there's just a bunch of church people, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because that's where that's where we belong. But there are some churches I think we've all experienced where when you go there, it's like it's only holy people. Like I don't see any people that I would see outside of the church. And then there are some churches where you go in there, you don't even know if they're Christian or not. You just like there's a bunch of people just, and so
Yeah,
that front door would be a very wide, very big front door, which means everybody is welcome. Everybody come in here. Now, as believers, we got to make a decision. Okay, our door is going to be this big. Let's make sure that our back door is not big. Also, that back door needs to be very tiny. Not meaning we trap people. We don't trap people, right? But
right.
if they're going to leave the ministry, it's because maybe there's a new chapter they have to write, or maybe there's.
Right.
But from that front door to the back door, what is your teaching like? What is your discipleship? What are people? So in a translation to what we're doing, having a big front door to me is okay. Now that back door better be small. And sometimes there are things that God gives you an opportunity, like, hey guys, if anybody needs prayer or whatever, hey, shoot me a DM, right?
Exactly.
So that's my way of making that back door smaller,
Right.
to where they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're not some mystical brouhaha person that has no legitimate doctrine and you'll accept everything and everything all. No, that's not what I'm saying. So I think you've been blessed, right? You and I have been blessed to have this platform, to have a big front door. And I give you credit, Josh. There's a lot of things we can definitely dive into. But one thing I want to ask you is, I think you mentioned it just now about not charging for this or that. And then Jason, you said Jason was offering some things that were available at no cost. There's a saying I heard was, I forget who said it. I know it's from a movie, but it said, if you're good at something, never offer it for free.
Yeah,
and I thought,
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to believe, obviously, for success in you guys' creators labs. Now, I'm going to rewind it because I made some notes. I've been taking notes because you said about motivational speakers. What is your definition of a motivational speaker?
Man, me and Paula did a whole space on this. Unfortunately, X kind of scrubs old spaces, so I can't find it anymore. But we did a whole space on this. Wow. It's different for different people, but the way I look at it is someone who, when they speak, there's weight behind what they said, like you said earlier. And the motivational speaker realizes the great responsibility that has been given to them. And they use the platform they've been given, whether it's a disease that has put them in a position of authority where their words mean something, or someone who went through a great tragedy in their life, or even veterans. I know veterans who are motivational speakers as well. So to me, if they're able to take their experiences from life and use that in a way that motivates you to live your life differently. So that could be in your personal life or in your business, because Jason has this saying that every week is like, come back to the next episode where you can learn your next move, because in life and in business, it's all about your next move. And I think that encompasses a lot of what I do in my practice as well. In life and in business, it's all about your next step. So what I try to do as I would call myself a motivational speaker is motivate people to change their mindset, change their outlook on life, and change the direction of their life based upon my life. And that's kind of the way I see it. What would you add to that?
I would say that Hitler was a great motivational speaker.
Yeah, and Colin brought that up in his stage as well.
He was an amazing motivational speaker. So was Gandhi, right? But we find out later in life that Gandhi was not exactly a good person to women. He was terrible to women. And we don't talk about that. And
Yeah.
I think it leads to the motivational part, right? So there are some people that motivate people with anger. There are some people that motivate people with fear. I think there are some people that motivate people with drama. When I hear a motivational speaker with drama, I run away. I turn a page.
Like, nope, I'm out. I don't want to hear drama. Go away.
Yeah. Now, there are some methods that I don't agree with. I'm from that fabric that, the book of James, chapter 3 talks a lot about what the power of the tongue, right? It's literally like a tongue of fire.
Yeah, it can destroy things. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's what I'll say, like to my leadership teams that we've had over the years, there should definitely be a different language in terms of motivational when it comes to your leadership teams, people that are behind closed doors. So for example, my wife and myself, we have a different conversation behind closed doors when it comes to parenting. Now, when we are out of the room and our kids are in the room, we have a different conversation. It's not that there's deception in any way. It's that there are conversations that our kids are not graced to understand, right? They're not graced to understand the workings and ins and outs of parenting, the arguments or the working out of conversation with me and Rob. They won't understand that. They may perceive it as like, oh, mom and dad are fighting and they're going to get a divorce. No, that's not what that is. So when it comes to motivational speaking, I do believe that, that there are going to be conversations that with your leadership should be obviously tougher conversations, but things that will be of, how should I put it? Driven, I guess, if you will. It'll be driven to produce results. Now, sometimes those conversations in closed doors are not nice. They're not pretty, right? Especially when it comes to leadership and those things. Now, going back to the question, like, what would I add? I'll add this. If you're not speaking life, if you're not speaking life in that conversation, I don't believe that's motivational in a healthy way.
Right.
We have this, I think, perceived or this preconceived note. I can't even think of the word. These preconceived thoughts that motivational means good. No, it doesn't always. Doesn't always mean good.
That's what I was doing. I was going from that good perspective that, like you said, it depends on what you're motivating people to do.
Yeah.
And how you're motivating them to do it, and how you're really living in your life. That's the big factor there. So when you say Hitler is a motivational speaker, he's in a certain way. Even certain political candidates are motivational speakers, but what are they motivating you to do is the key question there. But I went ahead and went with the positive that, so for me, that's how I live. I try to be a positive motivational speaker. So it's all about your intentions,
Yeah. Speaking of political, you're in a great state of Texas. Is Abbott still the governor of Texas?
Yeah, he won again. Yeah, he was, if you remember, he ran against, Beto ran against him. And Beto O'Rourke almost defeated him. I say almost, it was pretty close. And when I say almost, that's pretty substantial in the state of Texas, because Texas is red, red, red. This is really red Texas. So for Greg Abbott to be challenged by Beto O'Rourke in such a close way, I think that it forces him to stand. No, that's not there. To sit up and take notice about where Texas is going. But yeah, he's still the governor of Texas. Yeah.
No, you were born and raised. Is that correct? Born and raised Texas,
No, I was born in Alabama,
Alabama.
and I've been in Texas for 20 years. About 24 years.
So, I've been to Texas, I think, 3 times. I will say that they don't do anything small. Texas does not believe in anything small.
It's big, it's wide, it's loud, it's rowdy. It's Texas.
I do appreciate the driving in Texas in terms of like when you get onto a interstate highway, they have these super long ramps. They're like really long.
Yeah.
In Hawaii, you've got like a 20. It's such a tiny little ramp to get on the freeway. It's so ironic. Yeah.
Yeah, Texas, yeah, it's like giant on ramps, off ramps, and the mixed master is one of the sections they call it because it's going everywhere. If you don't pay attention, I'm telling you, if you don't pay attention when you're driving in Dallas Fort Worth, you're going to end up in another side of the metroplex than you intended, because you got to get off the right ramp, or you're going to go back the other way to another direction. So, and my son, he's learning to drive. He's 18 now. He's had his license for a little bit. And we almost missed one of the ramps the other day. And I'm telling you, he turned on 2 wheels to get to the right ramp, because he knows if I go up that ramp, I'm going to go way out of the way about 30 minutes. So he's like, Daniel, don't ever do that again. Just go the wrong way and turn around. So that's kind of what we try to teach him. Just go with the flow. Find a safe place to turn around and get back where you need to go. There's no sense in crashing your car in the pole in between the 2 ramps. There's no sense in that. Just get off and get back around.
Now, do you guys have that van, the one I seen in the video? Is that what you guys have?
Yeah, that was given to us. It was the day after Christmas.
Oh, just recently.
Yeah, 2 people came together, and I know who one person is, but because this is biased, I'm not going to say that. But the second person, we don't know who they are. We all we know is we were looking for a van, and someone was helping us look for a van. They had a set amount to help with, which was not enough. But somebody called the company that we were working with and said, I want to give X amount of money to help Joshua Busby get a van.
That's awesome.
Now, how did they know we were looking for a van at the same time that the other person was helping us? I don't know. God put that all together, and it's a 2016 Town and Country. It's converted for handicap, which means it has hydraulics, bro. I'm telling you, when you let the ramp out, it kneels down and lets the ramp not come out, not be so steep. And it is a nice van. The AC is cold. And the other van we had was a 96 van. There's 96 and no AC. It was in bad shape, and it was bad to drive down the road. And do you remember last year in Texas, it was triple digits.
A lot. And high triple digits.
It was, and my ventilator, it doesn't do well in heat, so it was overheating. And we desperately needed a new van, and God provided it. And it's amazing.
And I was just thinking of the cars we had. So when we started pastoring, anybody knows typically or generally in ministry, you don't have a lot of money, right? And I was making a list, but check this out. So while we were, when we our first year, someone blessed us with a Toyota Celica. That same family blessed us with a Hyundai. I don't remember the name of the van, but it was a van, full leather, power everything. It was so funny. I also got a Honda Accord that was given to us. We were blessed with a Buick. A Buick, I think it was a Skylark or one of those old.
Yeah,
Uh,
old school Buick.
my brother gave me his Honda Pilot. Here's a funny one. Actually, the same family that gave us the Toyota Celica and the Hyundai van, they also gave us a Subaru for my daughter.
Wow.
And then here's a funny one. I forget how we got it, but I remember. I'm trying to remember the story, but I remember. So someone had given me a Geo Metro. He said, "Hey, do you want a Geo Metro?" Yeah, I'll take it. If you know Geo Metro, this one we have is a 2-seater. Oh no, I'm sorry, 4-seater, but it was a 2-door, and it was a manual transmission, and it only has 4 gears. So it's like once you hit 4th gear, that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. The engine was a 3-cylinder engine, but here's a blessing. Here's a blessing in this story. My friend gave it to me, but so I was checking the car out. I opened the ashtray and there's like 80, I think it was 83 cents. And I called him up. I said, bro, you just paid me 83 cents to take this car. I was like, what a blessing. Here's what I know, Josh, man. What favor, I'm telling you, in your life, bro, for somebody to give you a van, right? And all that space. So your son has a license already, or is he working on getting a license?
Yeah, he's got his license.
Oh,
He's had
good.
it for a year, and he's had the job for over a year. And he works at Domino's, and he's a pizza slinger. So he's been slinging pizza for a while, but his last day is August 6th. Down. He's taking 2 to 3 weeks off, and then we'll be loading him up and taking him to Baylor, and he'll be moving into the dorms and living there. And bro, that's gonna be a big change for my wife and I, because he's our only son. When my wife gave birth to him, she had a uterus infection, and it makes conceiving another child a lot more difficult. And not to be graphic on your show here, but we have not taken any steps to keep that from happening, and it still hasn't happened. So he's our only child that God blessed us with. And after that, it's essentially closed up the wound and said, that's all I have for you guys. And I know there's a reason for it. I don't know what that reason is, but he's my only son. And yeah, he's a blessing, has always been a blessing in my life. And, for so long, even during the pandemic, I was like, God, please get me through this pandemic, because I need to see him graduate. And we made a lot of sacrifices during the pandemic. And like my wife not getting to see her dad's funeral, at least they live streamed it, but she was not able to be there. And Daniel had to go out of school for a year. And I don't want to get into this topic, but Daniel got the vaccine and got really sick. And, now I kind of regret that, but how do I know that didn't actually help? I don't know. Lord, thank God he has not gotten COVID, and neither have we, because God's bubble of protection has been on my family. But the motivation to live and be careful was so I could see my son graduate. And I posted on Facebook him going across the stage, and
I
a
saw
class of about 700 students is like huge. And Gilo, this auditorium had like 5,000 people in there.
5,000.
You take a guy that's been closed up for the pandemic, and you shove me and 5,000 people all trying to lead at the same time. And some of the pictures of me at the graduation, I'm like, yeah, but God protected me, and I didn't get ill from 15 to 5,000 people. So. Yeah, so I'd had to change my mindset there to G-Lo. Now I'm going out a lot more, and I could get COVID, or maybe not. So we're going out a lot more, and God's protecting me. And either I believe in God or I don't. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
in between. Either I believe that I have a set time to die, or I don't believe it. I can say it on G-Lo's show, but do I live it? That's another thing.
Well, you can say whatever you want, and I'll tell you this much. There was a time when people would ask me, "Are you vaccinated?" I'm like, first of all, it's none of your business, but yes, I am.
Are you
What
what?
they would ask, "Are you vaccinated?" Right?
Uh,
And I
uh,
would
uh,
say, yeah. And so I would say, yeah, I am. But what they didn't know is that they didn't ask me which one. So you
uh,
so, but my wife and I both got COVID. It's a legit thing. But we didn't have any Moderna. We didn't have Johnson and Johnson. We just had Jesus.
yeah,
I know that sounds hillbilly for some people, but it's like you said, either we believe in God and who he is. One of the
yeah,
things I have issue with is for people that will put God on a parade, like the parade God in the beginning of their stage. And then once everybody knows, hey, God, I just want to say, thank God, I believe in God, they'll take
yeah.
God, put him in a
Switch.
box, they'll put him somewhere in a back shelf, and they'll start dropping F bombs and whatever they're saying. And then when they're done, oh, by the way, I love God. I'm like, okay, first of all, either we believe in God and we revere him and we truly believe in what his word says, or we don't, right? I believe that obviously there's favor in your life, Josh. Like, you know, um, I think the chapters you've written with your son, I got to ask you because I am curious, like your son and raising your son with your wife. What tell me some of the great memories you've had of your son. I don't care what it is. Just give me something that you can think of that was.
Well, the funny thing, and this involves my father-in-law. We already talked about him. He was a funny guy. And okay, my wife just got through giving birth, right? And all that was done. And he had a cone head after birth because
Oh,
the reason for that, we don't need to have an OBGYN come on next week and explain that, right? So we all know what that is, right? Anyways, um, and his head hadn't went down yet. And her dad is holding me for the first time. Like, what's wrong with his head? Like, yeah, his wife, my mother-in-law's like, Ronnie, it's gonna go back down. She had to explain to him that it's gonna be okay. Um, and my son and I used to watch Super Nanny a lot. And he got a hold to the camera while we were asleep. And he recorded a message. And in there, he's explaining to children how they should behave. And he's like, if you want to be good, be good. If you want to be bad, be bad. And he did silly stuff like that. And there was one time when my sister-in-law came over to visit with us. And my wife was getting me out of the van, and he took my sister-in-law to the door. And he's like, you see that door? It's locked. And he's like, all mad that we locked the door. I'm like, yeah, dude, somebody could have came in and got all our stuff while we were gone. So those are some pretty funny things. And then there was one, we used to do a lot of vlogging, and me and him made Jello pudding. And that was a very interesting encounter with him. He's just a funny kid. And there's one more story I'll tell. And I don't know, you've seen those Coca-Cola shot glasses, like for whiskey and stuff.
yeah.
And I was like, Daniel, go get me a little glass of orange juice. And this kid goes in there and has the wit to go get one of those shot glasses, collectibles, not because I shoot whiskey, I promise you. And he brings me the littlest thing of orange juice. And I could do nothing but laugh my behind off. Because to me, he he one up me because I'm real big on jokes. And my own son one up me big time. And I just couldn't do anything but laugh because it was just so hilarious. So he's a fun kid and always looks after dad. And we would go out bike riding when my wife was taking a nap, and we just spent a lot of time together. And there's this one place we go to ride a bike, and he called it his secret spot. Well, it was no secret; everybody knew where it was, but to him, it was the secret spot. So we go out there and ride his bicycle back when he had training wheels, and we finally got him off of those yesterday. And I'm just kidding. But yeah, those are a few things, and I know those sound like childish memories, but they're hilarious things that he's done.
Well, some of the smallest things that we think are small, not to our kids.
Yeah.
My wife sent me a picture. She took a picture of my daughter when she was like 3, and she was trying to stand on this box this high, like not that big.
Yeah.
But she was trying to jump on it, and she just couldn't balance on it. And when she finally figured it out, she stood on it with 2 feet, and she just threw her hands up in the air, and she made the biggest smile. My wife took a picture of it, and it was the funniest thing that our kids, and I think I'm trying to remember in the earlier part of a conversation, you talked about your dad before he passed. That you really didn't spend a lot of time with him, right? We didn't have a lot of time with him.
No, not at all.
But one of the things our kids crave more than anything,
Yes,
it's just time, right? Like,
yeah,
they don't
right.
care, how much money dad made, or they don't care what accomplishments dad had. They just want to know if they actually have a dad that's there.
Right? Yeah, that's right.
Now, obviously, we got to provide for our kids. We can't be,
be there on the couch and not making money. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. And one of the things with my son is we raised him early, and people thought we were crazy, but this is my life. And it took me this long in my life to finally get to where I don't care what other people think or say about my life and what I'm doing. This is my life, not yours. And maybe there are some young parents out there that might be watching Gilo that maybe they're being influenced in their parenting style by what people think about what they're doing. And for me, I wish I would have learned earlier that I need to just do what God leads me to do.
Yep.
And quit worrying about everybody else's opinion about what I'm doing. But we tell him the truth about everything. We raised him on truth. And that includes December 25th. And I'm not going to get into that. People really gave us fits about that, but he knew the truth about December 25th. And then a fat guy in the suit's not coming down the chimney. He knew that. And if you teach your children that there is that, I don't judge you. You do you. And you raise your kid the way you want to. It's none of my business. But he knew that early, and people say we shouldn't have did that. Also, my health. He knew early that dad could die. And we did not shield him from that. We don't believe in doing that. And when my grandmother died, we took him to the funeral because he needed to see the full view of life, not just the happiness. But he needed to know that people are going to die in your life, and you need to experience that. And I know some parents don't feel the same way, and that's okay. You do you. But for us, it was imperative that we taught him to know that dad and mom are not going to lie to you about anything. and we're going to tell you the honest truth at your level. And he's known everything that's happening. So we built that into him, and he's a boy of truth. And sometimes I have to tell Daniel, you don't have to tell everybody everything,
Yeah.
because he's so honest. Like Daniel, sometimes it's okay not to say anything. Okay, just so yeah, we raised him to be very honest, but yeah, not that honest, because you don't want to overshare.
Well, I think there's a line between honesty and speaking life, right? Because I'm not going to walk up to an 800-pound man and say, "Dude, you're fat." Like, I don't want to speak truth. That's
No.
that's not speaking life over someone. So, do you think your son, because of what you got, how you guys raised him, do you think he's? I don't want to sound generic, but this is what I see. This is what I'm getting is that your son is head and above shoulders than most kids in his age group. I believe that,
When it comes to emotional intelligence, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Are there kids that are more talented? Probably. Are there kids that graduate first in their class? Yeah, there were. But we're proud of him for graduating. And he graduated with honors, but he wasn't at the very, very top. But that's not what I require of my son. I require of my son that he's faithful to God, that he listens to his parents and respects his mother, and that he treats other humans with dignity and respect, even if he disagrees with them. And, he went to school with a lot of people who were transgender, and he loved them and accepted them. And I encouraged him to do that. And because I wanted him to accept people for who they are, but to stay true to what he is and who he is and what he believes. And his friends knew that he was a safe person. Whether they were trans or bi or whatever they were, they knew that Daniel was going to love them anyway.
Yeah.
But Daniel's going to tell us the truth on the subject if we asked him. So, yeah, I forgot the original question, but
we're just talking.
I don't think he's head and shoulders above the rest, but I think that he was raised in a unique situation.
Yeah.
And there are pros and cons to the situation he was raised in. And one of the cons is we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, that's just the way it has always been. But he knows, what his favorite quote is? God will provide. And he's been saying that since he was a little kid. And how our children say things when they're little, and we get to turn it around on them later, right?
Yeah.
When he's stressing out about something, we say, Daniel, God will provide. He just smiles, like, yeah. So he there's pros and cons to the way he was raised.
Two things. One is, with him, is he went to public school?
Yeah.
So I went to public and private. My oldest daughter went to public, private, and we homeschooled her. And one of the things we learned about homeschooling, especially in 2024, in this generation, there is so much more resources today than there was when I was in school. I don't think our public education system can keep up with technology. You can get a degree. My wife, she's we're still deciding if she's going to follow through with it, but I always say she's working on her master's. The truth is, trying to figure out how we're going to navigate the scheduling and the timing, because it's hard. We're in our 40s, and my wife, she has her bachelor's degree in business management, but she did all that remotely. And so, with the idea of education and with homeschooling, was one of the best things we ever did for our kids, was because there's no ceiling. The other thing it removed was these measurements or these metrics or these markers, right? Like your son may have been maybe he graduated with honors, but it's all structured in an environment that is a cookie
Yeah.
cutter environment, right? So,
Sure.
and you know this, Josh, the most amazing innovators on the planet
Yeah.
probably didn't even finish high school. They didn't even finish grade school. So
That's true.
I believe your son is head and shoulders above quite a bit of people just because of what dad gave him, right? Just because of what mom gave him. So
Well, back in my younger days, I was an independent fundamental Baptist, like, Hellfire, like,
Brimstone.
King James only kind of, that's what we raised him on early on. And he did go to a church school for like preschool and some of kindergarten. And there was an issue, and I don't want to embarrass anybody on live stream, so I'm not going to say what the issue was. But there was an issue at the school, and we loved everybody there, but we knew it was time for Daniel to be pulled out and put into public school. And that was a hard decision for us to make. And like I said, we loved everybody at the school and the church. We still talk to all those people still today, well, most of them. But we put him in public school, and I graduated from college, and I went into ministry as a Southern Baptist. And there's still a very conservative wing of the Southern Baptist Church, but it's not as extreme as independent fundamental Baptist. So, and I'm not saying anything against my friends who are watching who are still in the independent Baptist movement, but for me and my family, we fit better in a less stringent form of Christianity. Still conservative, but not that mindset. So we took him out and put him in public school, but he was still raised in church every Sunday, every Wednesday. During the pandemic, I didn't go to church, and my wife didn't go to church, but guess who was on the front row every morning? Daniel, and he sat on the same row as my pastor and his son, and my pastor's son and my son has sort of a bond together, and I'm glad for that. He's an amazing young man as well, and he's an only child as well. And his dad, my pastor, went through a disability when he was younger. He came down with a horrible illness when he was younger, and so they only have one child as well, so they got a lot in common. So, but Daniel went every Sunday, even if I couldn't go, he was there. So he has this grounding in faith and ministry. When I was a youth pastor, he was the kid helping me stack chairs and all the things that you do physically, Gilo, in your ministry. Daniel was doing for me. He was helping me clean the youth room and just service to God. So yeah, I would say we raised him differently, and I think that contributed to who he is.
Well, I think we're gonna come in for a landing, and I'm getting kind of hungry. I want to eat something. So, and I know you've been with me for we've been pushing 3 hours. I want to give people a chance to come for part 2, and we'll get a focused conversation. I think that'll be a before we get into the rapid fire, because I think the rapid fire is going to be a little bit longer than rapid.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want you, before we get into rapid fire, Josh, can you share your heart, whatever's on your heart, what's on your mind before we go to rapid fire?
Ooh. Well, I feel spiritually ADHD sometimes, so that's a big question to ask.
Go ahead. Hey, it's your platform, bro. It's your time. This is your time.
Wow. What is on my heart? Well, my heart is if God can take someone like me and pour his grace on me, my family, my business ventures, then I want to tell all my friends and family on X, guys, I love you guys so much. And I want the same thing for all of you, whether you're Fabio or you're Journeyman out there, you're Kimberly or Tala, Greg Lunt, all you guys that are big names and great people. I want you guys to experience the grace of God in your life and really feel that and experience that and know that. Because here I am, I grew up without a dad really in my life. And I lost my dad at an early age. I was a bad kid. I was angry and I was acting out. I was, premarital sex and drugs and alcohol and just doing whatever. And at 19 years old, that's when I met Jesus, guys. And when I met him, that completely transformed my life. I met my wife because I know Jesus. I have a son because I came to faith in Jesus. I have a business helping other people because of God's favor in my life. And that's not just for me, guys. That's for you too. And I just want to encourage you, that maybe you're in a place in your life where you don't know what you believe about God. I want to say keep searching, keep looking, because you will find if you search with your whole heart, the Bible says. And what I found is I found grace and forgiveness in Christ. And I found hope and I found a new life. And God can give you all those as well. And just search out for God. That's my final word for you guys. And those that know Jesus, and maybe you've gotten away from him lately, ask him what he wants you to do with your life. A lot of you guys on X are wondering, what should I do? What's my niche? Have you asked God what your niche is? So that is kind of on my heart today. And the last thing on my heart is I don't know when I'm not going to be here. And I'm out here doing the best I can to try to do the most good I can while I'm here. And I just want to challenge you guys with that, because you don't know when you're not going to be here either. So let's make the best of what we got today. And with that, Gilo, that's kind of what's on my heart right now. And lots of love to all my people.
Hard to not get emotional, but I will say this. As the great Dave in Osaka once mentioned on one of my podcasts, he said that with everything that I've been putting out on social media, he says that I would like to think that everything I'm doing is a historical document, whether it's a live stream, a photo, or a video, or fancy writing, or whatever, that everything we're putting out there is a historical document. And so I want to thank you, Josh. We're going to do rapid fire. And after rapid fire, I'll do my closing. And then, Josh, if you can hang out with me in the green room, we'll do our final goodbyes. We'll do our virtual hugs. But I think that we're doing all.
I want to know one thing real quick. What's on Gilo's heart?
Okay, I'll tell you this right now.
Yeah, come on, bro. What's on your heart?
It's along the lines of the historical documents. I think I was watching the podcast with you and Artie, and it moved me that every breath can be your last. I know we didn't talk about it today, and it moved me, your situation when it comes to eating. Ain't gonna lie, Josh, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
And I know you're a strong man. You are a champion. You're legendary. You don't share it at all. But it broke my heart when I heard the part about you and how you consume your meals.
It's hard.
Uh, and it broke my heart. And I'm like, I gotta make sure I get time with him.
Yeah.
And it's not that your timeline is up before mine. That's what we think. We don't know,
we
right?
don't know.
We don't know. But I said, I gotta get him now. That's why I DM'd you the other day. Said, hey, let's do this. Let's
do it.
Let's do it. Here's the other thing is on my mind. I miss my brother. I miss being able to hug him. I miss being able to have a conversation with him. Every day I pray and I say, Lord, if it's your timing that he gets out of the bed tomorrow, next week, whatever that is. You know what? It reminded me, Josh, is when the guy at the pool, if you remember the story where there was an angel that would stir the waters in this pool, right? In the temple.
Yeah.
There was a guy there. He couldn't move. He had a mat, and somebody had to carry him.
Yes, sir.
Right? Jesus looked at him and basically said one phrase to him and had this conversation with him. And after that conversation, Jesus said, pick up your mat and walk.
Yeah.
You see, a lot of times we think that, no, I got to get in the water. I got to, like, bro, Jesus didn't even put him in the water.
No.
He verbally said, pick up your mat and walk. And for those of you that don't know this story, this historical document that we're talking about, Branham Man was at that pool for 38 years. This is what I believe. The New Testament is not a historical document of days of old. The New Testament is now. We are living a New Testament. I do believe, Josh. And for those that don't know the story of my long hair, I don't like long hair. I rock it well, but I don't really like it. I've been bald for 20 something years. I grew my hair out from my brother. And so I do believe that there's a time coming where there's going to be a healing process.
Right.
And I don't know what it looks like. I don't know the timeline, but I do believe that. My hair comes off when my brother leaves the hospital. That's when my hair comes off.
Amen.
But that's what I was thinking about. And it just having this conversation with you, it got me excited. Like, people need to see Josh outside of these audio conversations. People need to see you. And this is my last call to action for anybody watching that is on any platform, because we're live on 8 platforms right now at the same time. So
I was kind of talking to X, so we'll talk to everybody now.
Yeah. If you're afraid to show your face or go live, if Josh can do it and do it well, do it. So that's what's on my heart. Here we go. Are you ready, Josh? Rapid fire.
No, I got to do one more special thing for you, Gilo, Christina.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I had to do one special thing for you. You asked me if I'd do it. In honor of your brother, I'm going to do it.
There we go.
I'm doing it for your brother. All right, guys, here's the hair.
Let's highlight
the hair. There we go. It needs to be brushed, though, straight up. Yeah, there's the hair. Everybody's wondering what's under there. It was a nice flowing mane under there. And I just twisted up in a man bun and put it up there. So Gilo asked if I was going to do that. I said, I don't know. We'll see. But in honor of your brother, I thought I would let my hair down a little bit and let everybody see the real Josh behind the social audio. You can put it back up. Yeah, you can put it back up. Okay. So rapid fire.
The real Josh Busby. Question number 1. This is not a trick question. I'm not looking. So question number 1, I ask everybody the same question. So the question is, why did you do this podcast today?
I did this podcast today because my brother Gilo wanted me to. I've been wanting to really get to know you a little bit better, and you are one of the Christian brothers on X that I know are real and legit. So I know a conversation with you would be spiritually beneficial to me and to everybody else. So that's why I wanted to encourage people on all these platforms that you have. Like you said, there's weight behind my words. So I just wanted to use the platform that God had given me and you. And I didn't take that lightly. I know that this is God's platform that he gave you, G-Lo. And I don't take that for granted at all.
Number 2, steak or seafood? If you had a choice, which would it be, steak or seafood?
Land or sea. Okay, for the sake of brevity, dang, I want my seafood though, bro. I'm going seafood, bro. Seafood.
Question number 3. Is it X or is it Twitter?
Depends on who you're talking to.
For Joshua Busby, is it X or Twitter?
I don't like the old Twitter because it was too political, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I like X, but I don't like calling my tweets posts. I mean, hey, bro, did you see my post today? No, I saw your tweet today. So yeah, I call it X or Twitter, but yeah, I like the logo. It's pretty cool. My wife hates the logo, but I like it. It's pretty neat.
I like the logo. I wish they could have incorporated the bird in the logo somehow. I don't know how they would do it.
Yeah, that would have been cool, but I think you wanted to completely sever from Twitter. So
yeah. Question number 4: clean shaven or beard?
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I wish my hair. This is the best I can grow. My genetics are not conducive for hair growth, except for the hair, except for the beard. I can't grow long hair, and I try.
I wish I could have a full, like,
yeah.
I wish, but I can't.
Yeah, you don't have that in your genes either, I guess.
So I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Filipino, and my facial hair came from the Chinese. So that's why I have this Manchu.
Straight up, that's what I knew.
Number 5: who is better? And this is a broad question, but who is better, Texas or Alabama?
Alabama.
So
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide all day, every day. But we lost my man Nick Saban, though, so I'm a little concerned this year. Nick Saban was the OG.
You guys lost him because of something controversial, right? Was it something controversial?
Yeah,
or did he retire?
I can't remember. It was something really ridiculous. Yeah. I don't remember. I've gotten over that. I think it was against Michigan too. Sherry, my friend Sherry. I don't know if you know Sherry from the ladies' locker room. Yeah, Sherry loves Alabama, right, Sherry? No, she's hardcore Michigan, and yeah, we got their coach now. So,
All right, question number 6. And I ask every guest the same thing on this one. Finances or logistics not an issue. Where are you and your family going for a 30-day vacation?
Hawaii, bro. Hawaii. You know
30 days, bro. Yes, sir.
Yeah. My wife actually went on her senior trip from high school to Hawaii. And when she got back, she was coming to see me, and she was tan, man, like really tan. There's something in the sun there in Hawaii, man. She came back tan. I was like, whoa, hey, Hollywood.
It's funny you say that because there is a difference in the tan that I get here because I'm at elevation, and it's different. I think I don't know what it is. It's
a different level. It's way different. So I go to Hawaii. Except everything's too expensive. That's why you said, no expenses.
Yeah, not an issue.
No expenses, no logistics. I'm going to Hawaii, bro.
Question number 7. Who is your favorite singer?
Oh, why would you ask me that?
Because you're a great singer. That's why I'm asking you. Yeah.
Right now, okay, y'all don't throw eggs at me because he doesn't have the greatest voice. But Willie Nelson is a storyteller. And when he teamed up with the Highwaymen, Johnny Cash and I can't remember the two other guys, they really put out some really cool, like outlaw music. And yeah, so I kind of been listening to that lately. Back when I was a kid, Michael Jackson was the thing, bro.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, yeah, he was the stuff back then. So yeah, I like that, and I like Skillet. When you talk about
Ooh.
Christian rock, Skillet, I've been a Skillet fan for a very long time. Let me ask my wife, Christine, who else do I listen to?
Speaking Beyond, you listen to.
She's gonna name all these things that's what I listen to now, but I don't know about of all time. I can't really. I love everybody, man. Well, not everybody, but I love a lot.
Who is my favorite singer? Man, I have too many to list. And it changes with the seasons, yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay.
same here.
Question number 8. Since your dominance is on Twitter or X, who is, and you have to pick only one. You can't give me categories. You got to pick one. Who is your favorite content creator on Twitter, on X?
You got to give me just a second to think about that. Wow.
Yep. Take your time.
Not just who I love, which would be Fabio. That's my bro. But you told me not to do categories. As far as content, I'm going to have to go with Nick. I don't know. I can't pronounce his last name. From the Writers Therapy Group.
Oh, Bibu.
Yeah. I think that he's a great content creator. I think that AI Jesus is pretty sweet, man. He's got some pretty cool stuff that he does. So you said one, so I'm just gonna go with the first one with Nick. He's been an inspiration to me since day one, so I like his stuff.
This may not make sense to anybody, and I'm glad he came in today. My favorite creator on Twitter, on X, and he actually doesn't post on here anymore, but it's Airbraid Away. I'm not saying it based on content or but
Right.
he's the reason why I'm doing this. Like if he didn't tell me back in 2015, hey, you got to try out this app, download it, I don't know if I would be doing this today. I really don't know. And so I wanted to, that's why I want to honor him in that.
Yes.
And going a little bit sideways, since we're talking about X, or I want to talk about content creation in general. If anybody is struggling to produce any type of videos or pictures or writing content or something of substance, and you're trying to figure out how can I deliver, one of the things I've done, and it's not popular, so I'm not encouraging anybody to do it, but I'm encouraging to consider it, is to find out how many hours you're spending on your social media platforms and just consuming. And if you find that you're consuming way more than what you're trying to put out there, to whether it's to be a blessing or offer a business, product, or service, consider unfollowing people for the sake of not consuming their content. Now that sounds mean, but what I've done also is that create bookmarks, separate folders of their content where I can go and look at it when I'm ready. Because if I don't do that, Twitter, whatever social platform you have, every time you open your phone, it's going to put all of that content right in front of you. And what are you going to do? You're going to sit there, you're going to look at it, you're going to consume it, you're going to spend hours consuming content when you should be producing something of value. Now, that's not to take away from the great creators, So I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Sidetracking myself. Question number one, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Okay, question number 9. You check your bank account tomorrow morning, and you just see that you've got $1 million deposited into your bank account tomorrow morning. What do you do with it?
Number one, I'm gonna call the bank and say what the heck happened, because I don't want to get in trouble. Number one. As long as I learn it's clean, all right. Only got $1 million, right? Only got $1
Yep.
million.
Million.
That's gonna go quick, bro. That's gonna go quick. I'm gonna have to pay my son's tuition all the way up to always 7 years. I'm gonna pay for his whole college. They'll take all of it. So that's all I'm gonna do. Not just kidding. Yeah, I'm gonna pay for his college, but I'm kind of stuck because if you just pay for your kid's way, are you really teaching them the value of what they're earning? I don't know. So maybe I'd pay part of it and still let him work and earn the other part. You know what I mean? You're definitely gonna pay my son's school off. I'm gonna buy me a newer van, and I'm gonna give this one to somebody that needs it free and clear. Here you go. This is your van. I'm gonna get me a little. I'm running out of money, Zilo. I'm gonna get me some land somewhere and build me a little cabin that's accessible for wheelchairs. And I'm gonna live out there and enjoy the wilderness and find a good climate. And definitely we're gonna give to my church and other people who are in need. That's kind of what I do. Make sure my mother-in-law is taken care of since my father-in-law died. And yeah, I think I'm out of money now.
I think you are. You know what I would do? I'd get I'd pay off a lot of things. I would definitely set up a trust fund for my kids where they'll get a monthly stipend, but only if they're working or have a business. And I'm going to get very specific on that type of business or job. They can't just go work at McDonald's. They got to have a legitimate And here's the irony, right? And they're going to work for that money, but they're still going to get it. So whatever above and beyond, I think it'd be cool to put in writing. Whatever you make above and beyond, that goes into a savings account or into an investment. So you don't just get free money. You're still going to work, but you're going to get. You don't have to stress out about having to provide, right? Like, I think that's the greatest gift we could give our kids is give them that freedom to become, do, have everything that they were created to do in life without the stresses of finance. So, okay, last question. I'm not Socrates. So last question. And then we'll wrap this up and then we'll talk and agree to them at the end. Last question of the day is, what is your desire for the next generation? After you've gone, after you've left this earth, what is your desire for the next generation?
I want the next generation to move away from what this generation is telling you is the right way to do things. I'm not saying do away with the wisdom of the elders, because there is great safety and wisdom in the elders, those that have led the way to this generation. But listen to the wisdom of your elders, but don't be afraid to do things your own way and to find an innovative way to do things. Don't listen to the same political leaders that this generation has listened to. Forge your own way. Listen to your own political leaders of your generation. Definitely put Christ first. You know, I want this generation to forgive the church for the sins of the past generation, and don't hold that against Christ, because the truth of the gospel is still the truth, even if humans have not lived it out properly. So I want the next generation to seek out God in a pure, sincere way that's not clouded by politics and ideology, but a sincere desire to know Christ. And I want to see young people take initiative in their education and not just depend on what the government provides you, but to innovate and get out there and challenge yourself. Put the video games down for a little while and challenge yourself. Think entrepreneurially about how you can take your skills and your talents and your abilities and use those to make the world a better place and also make some money for you and your family. That's my vision, that we would detach ourselves from the silliness that we see on TikTok and be a little more seriously minded. And that's kind of what I would say. And I'm not saying don't have fun and don't laugh at things on TikTok, but don't settle for TikTok mentality your whole life. You'll have a little fun, but be serious too.
Poor TikTok. They're getting the brunt of our.
Well, not just TikTok, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Content creation that's fast food and not meat. So start creating some meat.
I appreciate you, Josh. I appreciate you and your wife, what you're doing, even your son. You are definitely a history maker, and I appreciate you for investing the time in today. In closing,
I called my wife over. She said, "Turn this around." She don't want to be on camera. Hey, come on. Okay, she's gonna play shy.
Are you okay if I share the promo code that did you read the fine print?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Share it out there. I want them to get a good deal on that.
Okay. Well, Josh, I'm going to close it out. Thank you for spending the time, and then I'll do my fancy ending, and then we'll talk in the end.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, bro.
Appreciate you, brother.
Was it Mahalo?
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Family, thank you for hanging out with us all this time. And for those of you that are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and all the other podcast outlets, I want to thank you for having me playing in the background, or maybe you're sitting here taking notes. I don't know what you're doing, but thank you very much for hanging out with us, spending the time. Of the one thing that I hope that is worth everything is that the investment of your time, the exchange that we made today, I hope it was worth it. And I just want to thank Josh and his community, those that are watching on his Facebook family. Thank you. Of course, he has his Twitter, X family live as well. Thank you. And on replay as well. And everybody on my YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, Instagram live. To my Instagram family, I have you on a separate device here. Thank you. I appreciate you guys as well. Listen, we just do these podcasts called Glow Sessions because we just want to have a conversation. And it doesn't matter if you're a physician, a doctor, a psychologist, you're a content creator like Josh himself. Do me a favor, family. Be sure to follow him. It's at Joshua Busby on Twitter, on X. They do have a YouTube channel as well. You can look him up and connect through him through Twitter, through X. What I wanted to do is to be a blessing to Josh and his family. So if anybody that wants to sow into him, now we have a promo code that we have through our store, our Glow Sessions apparel, which is through our website. Anybody that buys anything that wants, you don't have to. There's other ways we can bless them, of course. But if you want to buy products, there's a promo code that we created for him. It's called Coach JB. And on our merchandise store, if you buy anything, you use a promo code, you do get some discount, obviously, but a percentage of that goes to him as well. So that's part of our way. Just he's good soil, right? So we want to plant seed in good soil. So that's our way of just blessing him. And I wish we could do more, but I think in due time, as God blesses our ministries, our podcasts, and things like that, we can be of a greater blessing. So that's it, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys hanging out. And on behalf of my family, Josh's family, we love you guys. God bless you guys. Ahui ho, aloha, and mahalo. Yes, sir. Chew.